Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, Senior Vice President of Regional Operations for Penn National Gaming, Thomas P. Burke.
What a great day to be at the Kansas Speedway. On behalf of the new Hollywood Casino, its current and future outstanding employee team members, and our great friends, let's get this race started. Drivers, start your engines!
Get fired up when you're ready. Don't have to run them, so up here a little. All right, bud, you can crank it up. Yeah, it's up forward, just loud and clear.
I like his enthusiasm. So, getting set to go. 3 Roush Fenway Racing Fords in the first 4 starting spots on the grid. One of them, our in-race reporter for today, the 2003 champion, Matt Kenseth, hoping to not just start up front, hoping to finish up front. We talk with Matt as he rolls off on the pace laps next. Field rolling off onto the Kansas Speedway today for the first of the 3 parade and pace laps before the start. Show you the starting lineup across the top of the screen, headed by the defending winner of this race, Greg Biffle. 2-time winner, looking for his first win of this season, and from what I saw in practice, has a good enough car to possibly get it done today. When we get to row number 2, you will see our in-race reporter for the day and the subject of this week's Gillette Pro Glide profile, Matt Kenseth, the 2003 champion. Compare Matt's numbers from 2010 to 2011, win column in particular. Skeptic or believer, Andy?
Well, those numbers show why he's in the middle of this championship chase, and I'm a believer that he'll stay in it.
Me too. Nice recovery at Dover last week for Matt Kenseth. And Matt, again, our in-race reporter for today's race at Kansas. Dale?
Hey, Matt, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
I got you, Dale.
All right, Matt, our first question comes from our mailbag. Derek in Tallahassee, Florida asks, when you're racing in the chase compared to the regular season, is there a different mindset you take, or is it the same throughout the season?
Absolutely not. It's really the same throughout the season for me. I mean, you show up every week, try to bring your best car, put forth your best effort, and go out every week with the idea of trying to win races.
Hey, Matt, we've seen a lot of these mile-and-a-half races, tracks come down to fuel mileage. We saw it at Chicago. Didn't work in your favor there. Are you having to do anything different as a driver in driving the car and with your setup to make sure that maybe you're on the right side of that?
Oh gosh, I was in a good mood till you said that. There's only so much you can do. I mean, there is things you can do to save some fuel, but with instances like Chicago, we were, so many less laps. Our fuel mileage was so much worse than everybody's, we just couldn't save enough. So there's a lot of things going on with that. Hopefully today and the rest of the year, the caution, that last caution will fly where we can all race hard to the end.
All right, I'll try to put you back in a good mood. Your car looked great in practice yesterday. Thanks for talking with us. We'll talk to you later on.
No problem. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
He'll be in a good mood if he's holding the trophy at the end of the day, right? Matt Kenseth carrying one of our high-definition onboard cameras today. We have cameras with 2 former champions. The top 2 in the championship entering the race right now. 6 of the 12 who want to be champions, and 2 who want to steal the spotlight from those championship chasers in this race. Did the best I could to weave that all
should be
together.
fun watching. Yeah, we've got all kinds of options here.
There you go. And our over-the-wall camera today is with the rear tire changer for Dave Blaney, Mark Hollywood Armstrong. Hollywood at a track where we see a lot of 2 tire changes. The 15-yard dash for your partner on that front tire might be a big deal.
Well, Marty, this is a racetrack, certainly, where 2 tires is an option. And something to watch for today is when the jack man drops the jack on the right side of the car for that 2-tire stop, is where is the changer? Well, he is making that run for his life to get out of the way of the front of the car. Something you got to have is a jack man that likes you and a driver that cares about you.
And good legs.
Don't want to be a hood ornament. Have a good day down there, Hollywood.
Thank you.
The pink helmet, of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Nice of Hollywood to support the cause. And we remind you to make sure to stay tuned for our NASCAR non-stop coverage in the second half of today's race from Kansas. It's presented by Dodge. Look forward to that. Stories from pit road before the green flag waves. Let's begin with Dr. Jerry Punch. Doc?
Thank you very much, Alan. You know, Carl Edwards grew up just about 2 hours away from here in Columbia, Missouri. This is officially his home racetrack. And folks, 10 of his 19 career Sprint Cup victories have come on mile-and-a-half tracks. But remarkably, he has never won here. Today, he brought out a little help. The Honorable Jay Nixon, governor of Missouri, is sitting here on Carl's pit box to give the local boy a little bit of luck. Dave Burns.
Kyle Busch was asked this week if coming to the Kansas Speedway 2 times in 2011 would be beneficial over 1 time in years past. He goes, not when it's one of your least favorite tracks. Dave Rogers, his crew chief, told me this morning, you know, Kyle used to feel that way about a number of tracks, but they've improved at Martinsville, Pocono, and they even got a win at Michigan earlier this year. They hope to build on what they learned in June. Kyle starts inside row 2. Vince Welch.
9th in the standings, 19 points behind the leader. It's not the start to the chase that Jeff Gordon was expecting. Crew chief Alan Gustafson said the guys have been down a little bit this week. Had to give them a pep talk, urging everyone to stay positive. The 24 team has yet to put a complete race together in the chase. They need to do it today if they're to keep their championship hopes alive. Jamie Little?
Going into Dover last weekend, Jimmy Johnson sat 10th in points, and with that came a lot of skepticism, a lot of doubters wondering if the 5-time champ could win a 6th time. Well, they went out on Sunday, they led a bunch of laps, drove their way all the way to the front, ended up finishing 2nd, and they jumped up 5 positions in points. Today they start 19th, but they are more than confident they can drive through the field and get a win today. Now, this was their pep talk on the radio just moments ago.
All right, boys and girls, let's get ready to go here today. Got a great race car, great racetrack for us. Really nice little pit box here. I think all things are lining up our direction. You guys have been doing a fantastic job on pit road, a great job on the race cars. And Jimmy, you've done a really good job in the racetrack here.
And their worst lap all weekend was in qualifying. They are optimistic about today. Let's go back upstairs to Alan Bestwick.
Jamie, thanks. 5-time champ starting back in row number 10. I don't think he's going to be there for long.
No, absolutely not. The car looked really good in practice yesterday.
As you watch the cars work through this racetrack, you'll see the seams between the lanes of paving on the racetrack, and as we eavesdrop on drivers' radio communications, you probably hear a lot about that.
Yeah, you see those seams, and they're really wide here. They're wider than most places you ever see. They put tar in it to make it better, but it has to give those drivers a fit.
Yeah, not only that, but you see in the corners, the ones that come down across the track, the cracks that have developed here, they've had to put them there. The drivers are telling me that's as big a factor as the seams are. They can see the other ones really good. It makes it more difficult and in very difficult places for them.
David Ruderman, A.J. Allmendinger, Reed Sorensen to the back of the field. They missed driver introductions. Pace car is off. Race number 4 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, 400 miles at the Kansas Speedway. Green flag is out. Matt Kenseth gets the break to the point. Excuse me, that's Greg Biffle. In the 16, 17 is racing for 3rd place with his teammate Carl Edwards.
Yeah, Carl Edwards, who really spun the tires on the start. Actually almost got down in the side of the 16 car.
Kyle Busch in 2nd, then double wide right there, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Casey Kane there in the mix. This car's been a lot stronger the last few weeks. They've started putting full races together. He could be an upset winner here today.
See that Paul Menard in the 27. Had a great run yesterday in Kevin Harvick's car. Had a penalty but overcame it to get a top 5 finish.
And Carl Edwards slipping back a little bit on the start. In that 99 car, there is Jeff Gordon, 24, running in 8th place. Denny Hamlin behind him, and Brad Keselowski in the 2, taking that high line in the early going.
Boy, he had him so covered yesterday with his nationwide car. I just wonder if he learned anything from that that's going to help him today. The car looks pretty strong right now.
I'd have tried to sneak that car and put a 2 on it, paint it overnight, or wrap it, get that thing out of here. Wow, that was just a rocket ship yesterday. But I think Brad, in listening to him, did learn some things that are going to help him here today.
He led 173 of 200 laps in that nationwide race on Saturday. Edwards slipping back, Truex in the 56, Gordon in the 24, looking to go around him.
Yeah, Carl Edwards didn't have any grip whenever he started this race, and I think he's still looking for rear grip.
Watching Carl Edwards just a moment ago. Watch the 99.
Whoa.
Hello.
I think these drivers don't learn. Look at how far he turned that to the right. Wow.
Nice and easy now, buddy. We got a long one.
So, Doc, I'm betting the early report on Carl's car is he's saying loose.
I think we got a winner there, Alan. Definitely loose on exit, but Carl's biggest complaint, ironically, after that steering wheel swap a moment ago, is he's very tight in the center of the corner. Tight in the middle, DJ, and loose off. That could be a big issue here for a Cup driver.
All right, Doc, thanks. Watching Brad Keselowski trying to advance forward, talking about him just a minute ago. Dave, what are they saying about this 2-car?
You just saw him, Alan, move now more toward the low side. Crew Chief Paul Wolf radioed to him. Okay, now see how it works on the middle to low line. They're seeing if that 2-car is as good on the low groove as it was on the top.
And a couple things. We'll see drivers experiment early to figure out what their car's going to do to adapt to the different lanes on the racetrack. And the other thing, when we ride on board with these guys today, DJ, we'll see busy and tense hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah, it may not be quite as severe as what we saw Carl Edwards in trying to say that, but they're going to be working the steering wheel a lot. Not a lot of banking, not a lot of grip in this racetrack. They have to work extremely hard with the speeds that they try to carry around here. See Kevin Harvick now going right to the wall.
And getting above that top seam in the racetrack as he settles the car into the 15-degree banking of the corner.
Yeah, that ensures that you're not going to have to go across any seams until you exit the corner, and by that time you usually have the car going in a pretty straight manner.
Denny Hamlin in the 11 trying to pick up a spot on Brad Keselowski in the 2. There's Jimmy Johnson popping out of line, that Lowe's car. Here's Kevin Harvick, 12 and 13.
Watching Harvick, man, he's really, really high. I mean, he's running that extreme high line.
So David Reagan in the 6 car right there behind these cars. He was the second quickest in final practice yesterday. Pretty excited about his chances today.
It's kind of one of the things that had me excited about the start of this race is in yesterday's practice, there were a couple of really great cars, and then there were a pile of good cars. Watching Kevin Harvick, who is the leader of this championship coming in. He's using every bit of that racetrack on the high side, Vince.
And you guys are talking about the seams, and we'll also see the cars go down on the apron today. Kevin was telling me just before the race that this track has a tendency to wear out the front center of the splitter. He said he certainly noticed it yesterday during the nationwide race, and they've noticed it on the Cup cars as well. And when that splitter starts to wear in the center and it gets a little higher, the car tightens up. They already fight tight on this track naturally, so it might be something to keep an eye on as this race progresses.
Yeah, one of the things that happened to him yesterday in the nationwide race is that he wore the left side of that splitter out. The car was real tight. He said he was running across the apron trying to get it to turn. Looks like he's taking the opposite approach today by running that high lane.
Seems to be working pretty good right now. See the run by running that high lane, get back in the gas early, you lengthen the straightaway. Even though he'll get out of the gas a little bit earlier, he is literally making that straightaway longer by being in the throttle. Carries a lot of speed.
Good fight for 5th place here. Truex 56, Paul Menard 27. That's 5th and 6th. Jeff Gordon going to take that 6th position away from Menard. Now, let's talk about great cars in final practice and good cars. Jeff Gordon, at moments in the final practice on Saturday, had his hands full off the corner as they experimented with different things under the car. He came off turn 4 one time and did everything but hit something. And yet, they feel like they've got a good car for today's race.
Well, he's moved up to 6th place from his 10th starting spot. So look at this. Wow, check it out.
Wow. Got a little too close for comfort for Harvick.
Yeah, that's a spot you really don't want to be in. It is in the middle. You're getting the air taken off of both sides like that. See Kenseth trying to take second away from Kyle Busch here in the 18 car. Hard to make that pass on the bottom side. You can run that, but you have to have a really good car, be able to get back in the gas. You actually need to clear that car almost in the center of the corner before you get back to the throttle.
You heard when asked on Countdown, Kyle Busch be somewhat measured about his comments about this racetrack. Kyle's talked about how he's just had difficulty figuring out what he needs to go fast at this Kansas Speedway in a Sprint Cup car, but he's running second right now. Look at this, all championship contenders here. 2 Keselowski, 48 Johnson, 11 Hamlin, 29 Harvick right behind him, and Edwards in that 99 continuing to slip back. He's all the way back to the 12th position. How about this, just a couple laps ago?
Man, check out the run. I mean, and then Harvick just has to get out of the gas because his car gets loose.
Talked about busy hands on the wheel.
Yeah, it's going to be like that all day. As Matt Kenseth decided he couldn't make the pass on the inside, takes that second spot away on the high side.
Matt's going to have to do some digging to catch up to the leader, his teammate Greg Biffle, 1.9 seconds ahead of him. We're just underway in Kansas. Caution out for the first time in the Hollywood Casino 400 at the Kansas Speedway. Bobby Labonte has just gone for a spin off of turn number 4. Remember I mentioned Bobby Labonte and A.J. Allmendinger. I mentioned Allmendinger and David Ruderman having to drop to the back on the pace laps for missing driver introductions. Well, Allmendinger was on his way forward, and he and Labonte got a little bit close off turn 4.
You don't need much help, whether it's a tap or arrow, to be out of control here. You see, Bobby just, that's one of those situations you're running out of room. You turn the wheel to stay off the car till you're outside. And there's just not enough grip in the back. See a lot of wheel in the car right there.
Yeah. You see just how quick the car gets loose and out of control.
Over here. Get what you can.
We saw Bobby spin a couple of times at Atlanta.
Caution's out here about 20 times.
It's Juan Pablo Montoya in that 42 car.
Just grill here, Frank.
So Labonte headed down pit road while it's closed because he needs some fresh tires from his pit crew. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award is determined by the winner of each race, the fastest pit time, and you, the fans, vote. Text the car number to 234567 for your pit crew choice. We'll update you on the standings later in the show. Lap 21, leaders all heading in. Jamie?
And Matt Kenseth started the race 4th. He moved up 2 spots. He says he's just a little loose after lap 7. They're leaving it alone. 4 tires, and they'll fill it up with Sunoco fuel. Vince?
Jeff Gordon has already picked up 6 spots here in this first run, but he says it's pretty free. They're going to give him 4 tires and go a half round in the right rear. Dave?
Kyle Busch has lost 3 spots. He said it was loose, 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 loose. 4 tires, track bar adjustment, air pressure adjustment. Doc?
Greg Biffle said it's just a touch free everywhere, in, middle, and off. Half a round wedge, left rear, 4 tires, topping off with Sunoco fuel. Waiting on the fuel, left rear lugs taking a little longer, and he will lose several spots on pit road, guys.
Our Longhorn race off pit road going to have a new leader when we get the restart. Jimmy Johnson goes to the top of the stack. Restart at Kansas Speedway. The white car is Travis Kvapil. Did not hit under the caution flag, and here they go around him for the lead, turn 1. Oh, this is going to get dicey.
Kvapil can't even hardly get out of the way. You got so many cars trying to pass him here.
So Jimmy Johnson goes to the lead. Matt Kenseth 2nd, Greg Biffle 3rd, Marcos Ambrose 4th, Jeff Gordon 5th. Strategy on that pit stop. Right side tires only for Johnson, Ambrose, Jamie McMurray in the 1, and Kurt Busch in the 22.
We'll have to see how that works out on these Cup cars. With all the horsepower they had, most drivers that I talked with weren't much in favor of just 2 tires as slick as this track is.
Well, they'd only run 20 laps, so the left side, that was actually the perfect time to try it if you're going to do it. I'm with you. I'm not sure it's going to work out here if they run enough laps. But right now, I mean, Jimmy Johnson running his fastest lap of the race right there with 2 tires.
Ambrose slipping back a spot now. Jimmy Johnson, this team has not necessarily been one to go for right side tires in the past, and earlier this season got burned on track position a couple times when they went for 4 and everybody else went for 2. Chad Knaus has talked about having to adopt to the kind of new reality. And Jamie, they went for the track position there and moved up from 9th to lead.
They absolutely did. He said his car was just a little bit loose, but pretty good, so they opted just to take right sides, no adjustments. So it worked out for the 48, as you see him in first. Not so well for the 4, Casey Kane. 2 pit stalls ahead of Jimmy Johnson. Came in, they were going to take right sides. Johnson then exited, blocked Kane in his box, so they opted to take 4 tires on the 4, make some major adjustments to make the car better, and it was an extremely long stop.
All right, so that's dropped Casey Kane all the way to the back of the field, basically. He restarted 40th.
He's already moved up to 24th spot, though. He's on the move.
Tony Stewart picking his way forward in that 14 car. That's going to move Smoke up to the 8th position. Now, Kyle Busch. Remember, he was running up in 2nd in the early going. Lost a couple of spots just before the caution. And now he's back in 12th.
Here's what happened. They had a little bit of a hiccup right here. The tire carrier trying to get the tires back over to the wall. They have to get these back to the wall before the car can leave. That slowed them up a little bit on the left side. Boy, you lose a little bit of time now, you lose a lot of spots.
In 6th, out 15th for Kyle Busch. 2 and 56 side by side. Keselowski and Truex 7th and 8th. Dreadful day last Sunday at Dover for Truex. Started on the pole, dropped through the field like a stone.
And looking much better here so far today. You see Tony Stewart has passed both of those cars. Tony Stewart type of racetrack right here. Hot, slick, not a lot of grip out there, not the banking to lean on. And he has driven this car up into the top 10 already in a short amount of time, almost to the top 5.
Started 26th on the last 1.5 mile racetrack that the Sprint Cup Series ran a few weeks ago at Chicagoland. Won the race. Started 23rd today. I told you I was going to be curious to see how he runs. Pretty good to start with.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kurt Busch, 14th and 15th, 88 and 22. A little strategy on that first pit stop for the 22 that might not be playing in their favor, Vince.
Well, that's exactly right, Alan. And this is a car and a team that was one of the dominant players here in June. They sat on the pole, led 152 laps, but so far Kurt Busch does not like his piece.
Somebody gets the banana peels out from underneath our tires, we might be able to race today.
You hear that? Not exactly a comfortable ride so far for Kurt Busch, last week's winner at Dover.
But I will give him credit for originality. I'd never heard banana peel before on a race car.
I can assure you it's not a good feeling inside the race car. But it makes me question why you put 2 tires on a bad handling race car. So I know they were looking for a little track position, but they've lost that.
Nice little run in that outside lane for Kevin Harvick again. As Marcos Ambrose in that 9 has given up some of the track position they gained on the right side tire only stop. That was close looking, huh?
Yeah, everybody that took 2 tires is sliding backwards except Jimmy Johnson. And he's still out front and looking like that was a good move to get those 2 tires.
Yeah, and I think the tell of this will be, as we run on, do we go through an entire stop or a fuel run here, and Jimmy, where he ends up there. Certainly hasn't hurt the speed of the race car here in these first 10 laps.
He's got 3 good cars behind him that did take 4 tires. You got Jeff Gordon, Greg Biffle, and Matt Kenseth. They all took 4, so let's see if they can't run him down, then this would be a very successful experiment.
Looking a little deeper, as Andy talked about, all the guys except Jimmy Johnson that went for just the right side tires sliding back in the field. Kurt Busch, Marcos Ambrose, Jamie McMurray.
It seems like Dale said, if you put 2 tires on a bad handling car, it's not going to pay off. But if you put 2 tires on a pretty good handling car and get that clean air on the front of the car like Jimmy has, that's when it pays off.
Speaking of good handling.
Yeah, Smoke moving forward. Going to get him up into the top 5 in that 5th spot now as he goes around Paul Menard, who's having a good solid day here. But then, Andy, back to putting the 2 tires on a car that's not handling so well, how do you know adjustments to make from that point, too, of what it's going to do on 4? I would like to do that early on to try to get some of that out of the way.
Yeah, that's why they do that. And, you know, these other crew chiefs are paying attention. But now it's kind of a mixed bag. Which car are you looking at? If you think you can get out front, then you'd probably go for 2 tires.
Paul Menard slipping back a little bit in this run, Jamie.
Yes, he is. He opted to take 4 tires on that stop as well. The day was, it started off pretty well until they tried to go through tech inspection, pre-race that is. He was the last car. Their toe was off just a bit, as they said. The skew was off just a tad, but it took them 3 tries, and they got the car out just in time to get the race started today. So they had a little bit of stress, but they were able to start where they qualified in 6th, and the car just a little bit loose today.
Yeah, we saw Kurt Busch have the same problem just a few races ago. This is one of the things that these teams have struggled with because they want to get the max out of these cars, but they work themselves in a corner because they try to fix that toe steer problem with something else. Well, they violate another area of the rules, so it's really hard to fit inside that tight box.
So track position play with pit strategy gets Jimmy Johnson to the front. Early here, 50 miles into this NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race at Kansas, our telecast presented by Dodge. Sprint Cup Matt Kenseth has gone out in front of Jimmy Johnson. Just a lap and 3/4 ago, Kenseth ran him down.
I think this is where the 4 tires are taking effect. Matt car's handling really well. And it was just a matter of time. The air pressure's built up. And the 48, I think, losing just a little bit of grip from just having those right sides and no left side help there.
So Kenseth out in front, the 4th different leader of the race. Good fight for 4th. Truex, 56, trying to take it from Jeff Gordon in the 24. And looks like he does.
I think Truex, I'm sorry, Dale, but that Truex is really working that high lane better than anybody right now.
That's what I was going to say, and he's right up against the wall. He's just been staying right there, but carrying a lot of speed. He doesn't have to worry about hearing the spotter say outside because there's nothing you can get out there.
Well, the wall's there.
It's amazing to me how close you guys can do that. Run it within inches of the wall all day.
So Casey Kane mentioned went all the way back to 40th after the problem with the trip to pit road under the only caution of the race so far, trying to dig his way back through. That's a race for 18th and 17th positions now.
Yeah, and passing 2 of those cars that decided to get 2 tires that last time here. So you can see the 4. Casey Kane's got a fast race car. Hopefully that mistake that they made that last time during the caution won't hurt their efforts here today as they try to win.
14 spots since the restart for the 4 car. As a driver, that's got to be so frustrating to start up front, be running up front, and find yourself so far in the back so early in this race.
Yeah, you hate for it to happen anytime. If you look at the positive side, I have a good race car and I have a lot of time to get back there at a racetrack that I can pass on.
Now, another guy who started up in the front and finds himself at best mid-pack is Carl Edwards in this 99 car. He started on the front row for this race, and he's running in 20th place.
I heard him say his car was tight in the center and loose off. That's really those two combinations are terrible to make speed. You turn that wheel and it really does scrub a lot of speed, and you can't accelerate because you don't have enough rear grip.
Yeah, it doesn't make good speed, and it's a pretty tough adjustment to make to make it better, isn't it, man?
It's hard to fix. He's working on brakes right now. You see him turning that brake knob down the straightaway. Turning the brake knob to the left is usually putting rear brake in. What's he struggling with, Doc?
Well, basically the tight condition is much worse than anything else. In fact, the car is so tight in the middle, when he yanks the wheel to get it to turn up off, that's when the car breaks traction and appears to be loose. They took a half around a wedge out of the left rear, and right now Carl was saying the car is just way too tight in the center. He said it feels like I am really hard down on the bump stops. He said the left front seems very stiff. It's like it's just hopping over the bumps. And they said, we'll try to make it better. But he said basically the half around the wedge did nothing.
Yeah, if it did nothing, it makes me wonder if a loose condition in and really, really tight in the center is if they're hitting the splitter there, because that will make it almost impossible till they do something there, Andy, to raise that up and get it off.
Yeah, if they make adjustments and the car is kind of numb to those adjustments, that's one of the areas you want to look at, and it's real hard to fix that. They could do it under an extended caution flag or something where they could raise the hood.
But just one reasonably brief caution in this race so far at Kansas Speedway. 50 laps in of 267 needed to make up the 400-mile distance. Matt Kenseth out in front of this race. He took the lead from Jimmy Johnson just a little bit ago.
"54 laps complete here at Kansas Speedway, and race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage live from Kansas. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. At the front of the field, Matt Kenseth started up front, and he is still there. Couple of big moves, though, already. Some strategy coming into play, and taking an inside look at the Sprint Cup Series. The biggest mover ever at this track was Brad Keselowski when we were here the last time. He went on to win the race, but today already, Tony Stewart up 17 positions.
I tell you what, if you're a Tony Stewart fan, you're pretty happy right now. He's up 17 position into 6th position. Start at 23rd. The old 14 car is looking really good right now.
But if we're talking about a guy who's dropping the hammer when it comes to speed, it's the pole sitter, Greg Biffle, currently in 3rd.
Yeah, we're used to Greg Biffle running fast laps at every racetrack we go to, but it's been a good day thus far for the pole sitter. Really been fast all day, maintaining good speeds throughout his runs. So it looks like Greg Biffle's going to be a threat before the day's over.
Of course, riding on board there with Matt Kenseth. He is our leader at this point. Let's get up to speed with the field. Jamie, what's going on with Kenseth?
Well, Matt Kenseth, it has been a great track for him as far as qualified 5th today, and that's rare for this team. But when it comes to finishing the race, they've had mixed results. They're hoping to change that today. Of course, they were one of the cars that took 4 tires on that first pit stop. It took a little while, but he regained the lead, and the car is just a little tight through the center. Now, right behind him, the guy who we passed, Jimmy Johnson. Now, Johnson started 19th today, drove up 10 positions, then on that last stop took right sides only and took the lead until, of course, he was passed by the 17. Car right now, pretty good. It has been a great week off the track for the 48 team as well. Testing this week in Phoenix. They went to the Diamondbacks game, and it's been good. Doc?
Well, Jamie, Greg Biffle was the pole sitter here because crew chief Matt Pucia spent the entire Friday morning practice session working on nothing but qualifying. He said, we have got to get track position. And then in the first stop, Greg Biffle apologized to Matt Pucia to say, you know what, I might have gotten too close to the wall, balked you guys in, and created a problem because he came in as a leader and came out running 3rd. And right now, Greg Biffle is, the car's a little bit free, but running really, really well as he's going by the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. Now, back behind them is the 56 car of Martin Truex Jr. And how about a call for Truex? This racetrack, he is average finishing 25th. That's the worst of all racetracks. But this weekend, crew chief Chad Johnston said, we have been good since we unloaded them off the truck. Top 5 in practice, good in qualifying, and they think they're going to be the best on long runs, which is exactly where they are right now in 4th spot. Vince.
And the 4-time champion Jeff Gordon running 5th. He started 10th. He's made up 5 spots, but right now not pleased with his car.
Just land real tight all the way to the center, pick up the throttle, still a little tight, and then snaps loose.
There's a good look at Alan Gustafson on the left side of the screen, and Alan told me they just haven't been able to put the corner together this weekend. At times they've been good in the center and then bad on entry and exit, or they'd get the center working, but then they just couldn't get, they'd get the entry and exit working, but then they'd be too tight in the center. So been a tough run so far for the 24 this weekend. Not quite where they want to be yet, Nicole.
Drivers looking to make changes and improve their car will get an opportunity. We are 61 laps completed here at Kansas Speedway, and coming up, green flag pit stops. We'll see what those drivers do. Could make their cars a little bit better when we come back.
Live look at a lead change. Kansas Speedway. Greg Biffle, who started on the pole, led the opening 20 laps of the race, has just gone by his teammate Matt Kenseth for the top spot. while green flag pit stops have begun, Vince.
Kurt Busch, you've heard him say on the radio that the car is so tight he feels like it's on banana peels. It's a 4-tire change, also a chassis adjustment. Dave.
Brad Keselowski was running 8th. He just got a wedge adjustment. Full of Sunoco fuel, 4 tires. Very poor drive up off. Vince?
Kevin Harvick hasn't been completely happy with his car either. In fact, he said it's been sideways at times and terrible. They're going to go back on the air pressure adjustment they made on the previous stop. Also a track bar adjustment and 4 good years for Kevin Harvick. And now that 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. been fighting tight center off. Earnhardt's 4-tire change, making an air pressure adjustment as well, trying to get that to handle a little more to his liking.
Leader Greg Biffle has gone to the pit lane. Matt Kenseth goes back into the top spot. Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards also going to come to pit road on this lap of the race, Doc.
Biffle, 4,000 RPM, second gear, 45 miles an hour, comes on the pit road. It'll be 4 tires. Fill it full of Sunoco fuel, clean the grill, a lot of debris on the grill of that car. And remember, watch how he pulled away from the wall to give the left rear tire changer some more room. Dave Burns.
Kyle Busch started that run way too loose and finally went to the tight side. 4-tire change, air pressure adjustment. Doc?
Carl Edwards, 1.5 rounds of wedge out of the right rear. The car absolutely way too tight. Now coming around to the left side tires, pushing now 9 seconds, trying to get out in under 13 and a half, and they will do it under 13 seconds.
The 24 of Jeff Gordon, 4-tire change and a track bar adjustment. You heard Jeff say on that radio we played just a moment ago, tight, then snaps loose. Jamie.
Number 1 pit box, a short distance to slow up for Matt Kenseth where he is, the 17. He's saying he's loose on the bottom, tight up top, but he likes to run the bottom the shorter way around. Wedge adjustment and 4 tires once again for Matt Kenseth.
So Kenseth headed down pit road at the speed limit, which today is 45 miles an hour, plus the 5-mile-an-hour grace that NASCAR gives all these teams that they all want to get the most of. And when Kenseth comes back up onto the racetrack, watch for where he is in relation to Greg Biffle. Here comes the Biff. And that is going to be the race for the lead after the exchange of stops. Kenseth is going to go from leading to second to third.
I think staying out there just that little bit of extra time is really costing them. They won't be doing that anymore.
Now still waiting on one more driver to pit to complete the cycle. Landon Castle on the pit lane now. And so it'll be Greg Biffle who holds the lead through the cycle of stops, and Jimmy Johnson gaining ground on the cycle while Matt Kenseth loses just a little bit in the exchange.
That's a great 2-tire call, too. Got them the track position they were looking for with this 48 car.
100 miles in to today's race at the Kansas Speedway. Our telecast presented by Dodge. There's the race for the lead, the Biff, and the 5-time. Back live at the Kansas Speedway. Our NASCAR Sprint Cup Series coverage of Chase Race number 4, presented today by Dodge. That is the race for the 8th and 9th positions. Kyle Busch, 18, Kevin Harvick, 29. Harvick using every inch of the outside lane of this racetrack. Still. There's the man who leads the race, Jimmy Johnson. Earlier in the race, lap 21. Under the first and only caution of the race so far, they took just right side tires on their pit stop, moved up from 9th spot to the lead. Johnson dropped back a little bit in that ensuing run, but his pit stop closed him up on Greg Biffle, and shortly after they came back on the racetrack, this happened.
Yeah, and now we know why he was so good on 2 tires. It's because his car is really, really good today.
Can we say great?
Yeah, we can say great.
Not just good.
It was good on 2 tires, and it was great on 4, or is great on 4. It's Austin Dillon trying to stay on the lead lap.
21-year-old grandson of Richard Childress making his NASCAR Sprint Cup Series debut today in a car owned by Mike Curb. Remember Curb, the owner, when Richard Petty won his 200th race down at Daytona, July 4th, 1984.
He's done a really nice job, and he was able to stay on the lead lap through the pit stops with some other cars that were close to getting lapped weren't able to do that. So Austin having a nice run here today.
Dillon, the championship leader in NASCAR's Camping World Truck Series, trying to win the title there in these remaining moments of this season. Clint Boyer in the 33. Final practice yesterday. This car was a rocket ship, and I really thought we'd see the Kansas native run right up to the front, kind of like Tony Stewart did in the early laps of this race. It just hasn't happened so far.
I'll tell you though, Alan, I've talked to a lot of these crew chiefs. In practice, the track is just not like it is on race day. It doesn't matter what track, it doesn't matter what weekend it is. It seems like, the race is totally different than practice. The teams that do well and adjust for that, they've got a good offset for it, okay? If their car is doing this in practice, they know what to do to try to get it right for the race, but they do have to make changes. So just because the car, actually rarely is the best car in practice the best car in the race.
Now, that's not to say he hasn't made progress in the race, because he started 24th and he's running 10th now, but just not the kind of rapid progress I thought we'd see from Boyer. Big weekend for Clint, of course, racing here at his home track. Clint from Emporia, Kansas, 90 miles away from this speedway. And on Friday, Boyer unveiling formally and finally his plans for next season, driving for Michael Waltrip Racing with sponsorship from 5 Hour Energy. Clint saying Richard Childress is obviously responsible for him being here today, and it's been a great run, but sometimes it's just time to do the next thing.
That'll be a change that's definitely going to make Michael Waltrip Racing a stronger organization and race team. Bringing a driver with this talent and experience over there is only going to help that entire team.
Tony Stewart, 14. Brad Keselowski, 2. This is for 6th place.
That looks like his car's a little better after that round of green flag pit stops. I think that they've made a couple of adjustments. Looks a little more racy here now.
He's back here on June the 5th in the first of this year's Sprint Cup races at this racetrack. That Keselowski went to victory lane. Ran the final 57 laps that day on a tank of fuel, and a victory that just launched this team into a terrific summer run. What about their run today, Dave?
Well, just dealing on what you said there, Alan, Paul Wolf, the crew chief, told me this morning that truly was a turning point for them in terms of confidence. They won one. He's a brand new Sprint Cup crew chief this year, so that was big for this team. Today, they got a lot more drive up off after that last pit stop. Remember, that was his big complaint during the last run. The problem is the car got a lot tighter in the center of the corner. So driver DJ, better drive off but tighter in the center. Can you wheel it?
Yeah, I can wheel that better than a loose race car, I'll guarantee you. And you just have to move around a little bit to adjust. Now see Brad running higher, which means you get up there, you don't have to put as much wheel into it. I've seen him back off a little bit sooner, getting back to the throttle, using that tightness in the gas to his advantage now.
They do such a good job at just chipping away at their car all race long, making it better, making it better. They don't usually start off with the best car, and sometimes they don't even end with the best car, but they find a way to get the absolute best finish they can for that day. And I think that's one of the reasons that they're going to be a contender for this championship.
And if you're not a regular follower of NASCAR, a tight race car, one where the front tires don't grip as well and it doesn't want to turn in the corner. A loose race car, the back tires don't grip as well and it wants to spin out. No such troubles for leader Jimmy Johnson right now. What a gorgeous day for race number 4 and the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Kansas Speedway, where we're about to wrap up the second caution of the afternoon, a caution for debris on the racetrack. The first car a lap down at that caution was Juan Pablo Montoya. So he gets the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass, has been waved around the pace car, and comes back onto the lead lap in 26th position. Carl Edwards was on pit road forever under that yellow flag stop. Doc?
Now, as far as the car is concerned, you heard him complain about how tight the car was. The crew came in for 4 tires and fuel, and also they wanted to put a shim, in the left front to be able to help the car. We heard that it was speculating that it was hitting on the splitter. That's why Bob Osborne's adjustments weren't helping it as much. So they put a shim in to keep the splitter up off the track. Now, while they were in, Carl Edwards pulled his gloves off because the crew was going to come over and put a tie wrap on the window net. And Carl offered to help from inside the car. He pulled the gloves off, was going to help them, but they didn't need his help. So then he drove away and put the gloves back on.
All right, Doc, thanks. So you see Carl all set and ready to go for this restart. That will come as we complete the 88th lap. So right side tires only on the pit stop for Kyle Busch in the 18. Jumps him up from 8th to the lead. Paul Menard in the 27, Mark Martin in the 5, Jamie McMurray in the 1, all with just right side tires. This green flag restart presented by American Ethanol. Trouble getting going for Menard in that 27 car. It's got him bottled up behind him.
I think he knew they were coming to the green, but he wasn't ready to punch the gas when it counted. See that one car, Jamie McMurray, orange car, really wiggled down on the bottom. Lost a couple of spots out of 4.
And again, one of the cars that changed just the right side tires on that pit stop, McMurray in the Warren. I am some kind of impressed with that 48 car today. Jimmy Johnson making that move around the outside, up to 3rd, chasing his teammate Mark Martin in the 5 for 2nd.
Well, it sure looks a little bit like that 22 car Brad Keselowski in the Nationwide race yesterday. Jimmy just able to make passes bottom, middle, or top, wherever he needs to go right now.
A lot of talk about the 48 car. We talked about on NASCAR Countdown how after the very difficult performance they had in the opening couple of chase races, not getting the results that they wanted, and more importantly, after the 48 car only winning 1 race all season, and that was Talladega. Us all kind of needing to be shown something to believe that they were as strong as they've been in this championship in years past. Well, they showed us something last week at Dover, and they're showing us something today here at Kansas. 8th, 9th, 10th, etc. Kenseth in the 17 and 8th, McMurray in the 1 and 9th. And further ahead, Jeff Gordon going to pick up a spot. That's 4th position.
We remember Aaron Gordon just a little bit ago talking about he needed some adjustment on his race car. Looks like they might have this thing back in the right direction, Andy.
Yeah, it looks like it is going a lot better. Jeff looks like he likes the bottom of the racetrack too, so that's, sometimes it's kind of hard to get that car set up just exactly right for that. A lot of these other guys, they're having some of the same issues, but they're moving around, moving to the top of the track, and that kind of changes things a little bit. It opens up some more options, but if Jeff wants to run the bottom, they've got to get that car really close.
This is Martin Truex, knocked back a little bit in this shuffle of pit stops and strategy. In 12th place, Dale Earnhardt Jr. there with him. Clint Boyer, 33. Racing for 10th place with Brad Keselowski. And 9th place with Jamie McMurray in the 1. And up front.
Well, the 2 tires worked for a little while for Kyle Busch, too. Not quite as long as they did for Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy now with 4 are able to take the spot pretty easy.
It only took him about 4.5 laps to make his move and get there. Just looks like they've got everything working that they need.
Gordon now moving up the racetrack a little bit.
As you said, Andy, I think you're going to have to be willing to do that. And Jeff Gordon is very capable of doing that, but you said he looked like he really wanted to try to get his car working on the bottom. I always found if you get it working on the bottom, it's a lot easier to be able to move around to the middle and to the top. Vince, what are they saying now about Jeff Gordon?
Well, Jeff definitely likes the change that they made on that last pit stop. And, they came in with a little more confidence to this race as compared to what they did at Chicagoland the previous 1.5 miles, where Jeff was not comfortable on that tire at Chicago. Very comfortable on this one. Just says he likes the way it feels, and he feels the tire in the track here. And I think that's one of the reasons why Jeff Gordon tends to run well here at Kansas. Dave Burns?
18 car of Kyle Busch now seeing the result of that 2-tire stop versus 4 tires. You see him running that high line. Dave Rogers, his crew chief, told me this morning, is Mark Martin going to make that pass down below, and Tony Stewart is going to look for the same thing, that they were trying to make the balance of the car good across the top and the bottom. Where Kyle is right now, the car loads up a little lighter. When he goes down to the low side, the car loads up a lot more, and they had to come to an even balance to make that right for Kyle today. Right now, he says, I'm wrecking off 4 every time, and I think we almost saw that.
Yeah, we sure did. And we just saw Tony. So it's got to be fun as a driver to get 2 at a time like that.
Yeah, and that's 4 tires versus 2 tires on those other 2 cars, the 18 and the 5, both just getting 2 that last stop.
Clint Boyer still trying to work his way forward. We saw Brad Keselowski a little farther forward earlier. Shuffled back a couple spots by the strategy some others played. And some of those guys that just changed the rights may be coming back to see him the way this exchange is going. So Jimmy Johnson leads. Jeff Gordon is second, Tony Stewart third, Kyle Busch fourth, and Mark Martin fifth. There's your top five. Then you get back to sixth place Matt Kenseth and seventh place Greg Biffle. He started on the pole today, defending winner of this race in that 16. After Biffle, you get to Paul Menard, neon-colored car.
Dale Jr. coming at a pretty rapid pace also. This car looks a lot better. The best I've seen today on this run for him.
And Clint Boyer rounding out the top 10.
I talked to Steve Letarte this weekend, and they've had a really good car the whole chase. Since the chase started, they had some problems. They had a problem last week at Dover where they broke that sway bar, and they've had some other issues, but they've had a pretty good car. And right now, he's moving to the front. His teammates are running 1-2, so as a company, they have a pretty good handling package here.
That's 18th to 8th for Junior since the restart. Sound like a pretty good car to me.
Absolutely.
Might be a great one.
Race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage live from Kansas. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. If Jimmy Johnson's your favorite and you're liking the view, he's out in front. Just past 150 miles of today's 400-mile race for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at the Kansas Speedway. Our telecast today presented by Dodge. And we take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Jimmy Johnson has been out in front more than any other driver in this race today. Greg Biffle, defending winner of this race, has led more laps than anyone else ever at the Kansas Speedway. And the Biff running right now in 7th position after starting on the pole in this race. Get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more. Sprint.com/speed. Second place just changed hands.
Smoke is on the move. It's like whatever adjustment they made this last time is feeling good to Tony.
Now, I listened to Stewart's team during the final practice yesterday, and they threw a lot of stuff at this race car. And I never heard that moment from the driver where, Eureka, that's it! And yet, they marched forward right from the start of the race today.
Yeah, I had a little conversation with Tony. He thought his car was okay. They were still searching for something, but they were going to make some serious changes. But Tony was concerned about what he may have here today. Obviously, not much concerned now.
Well, one thing you're doing in practice is throwing different things at the car. Not necessarily all of what you're going to put in for a race setup at one time. You're trying this, you're trying that. You just don't have time during the practice session to maybe put it all together. And that's where the good and great crew chiefs put this together overnight and put a setup in the car for the race and make it work. Darian Grubb's done a great job of that today.
Greg Biffle, wow. He used not just every foot of that racetrack, he used every inch of that racetrack getting that thing settled into turn 3. And yet picked up spots along the way.
Yeah, passed them 2 at a time. So on the move forward once again. But Greg Biffle, well, you were documenting about him. When you think of this racetrack, you think of Greg Biffle, that he's always going to have a chance to win here.
So the Biff now settling into 5th position. He's got a little bit of ground, a couple of seconds before he can chase down his teammate Matt Kenseth to race him for 4th position. Jimmy Johnson out in front for 48 laps so far today and counting.
He's on his longest winless streak right now
of his career.
Yeah,
in the
of
Sprint
his
Cup
entire
Series,
career.
yes. And let's update some different stories throughout the field, starting with the race leader. Jamie, what are they saying in the 48 pit?
Well, that would be 21 races you guys are talking about a winless streak. That's not very much, but for a team like this, it certainly feels that way. And DJ, earlier you said, man, Jimmy Johnson looks like Brad Keselowski from yesterday. Funny you said that. Chad Knaus told his driver the exact same thing, and Jimmy said, if I could only be that way. So they're having a good time. It's the 48 team of old right now. The car's just a little tight, but good. Doc?
Hey, Jamie, we just saw Greg Biffle, the pole sitter, go by 2 other cars and be able to take a couple of spots away. But as Alan said, he used every inch of the racetrack. For the first time today, Greg Biffle says the car is very, very tight. To quote him, it is absolutely plowing in the corner. And you see Matt Fuchsia on the right of your screen there. And he said, Matt, what did you do? He said, Matt said, well, a half-pound air pressure under the left front and one round down on the track bar. It was a down on the right rear track bar that's made the car very tight. It will make that adjustment back on the next stop. Dave.
Doc, quick update on Mark Martin. Restarted third, but remember he only took 2 fresh right side tires on that pit stop. Crew Chief Lance McGrew, though, not deterred. He felt like they had a really good race car this weekend. In fact, he said yesterday afternoon when all the crew chiefs met together, I really thought ours looked like the best Hendrick Motorsports car. But then again, our teammates have had a tendency to improve their cars after final practice. His teammate leads right now, Vince.
Well, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. having a good run this time around. He started on that restart 18th, now sitting 9th. Having some fun, too. Here's his communication to crew chief Steve Letarte.
Get a race out here, boys. You helped it. Yeah, more, buddy.
Having some fun. It's a birthday tomorrow, so he's maybe a little special birthday gift in store for him later today, possibly in Victory Lane, huh? Hey, how about the 29 of Kevin Harvick? He came in as the series points leader today, but he's having some problems. Been fighting loose all day long.
Get a race out here, boys.
That was the radio from Dale Earnhardt Jr., but I can tell you that Kevin Harvick said this car is just not reacting to the changes that we're throwing at it. They made a bigger air pressure adjustment last time, but still not good for Kevin Harvick.
All right, Vince, thanks. Kevin has slipped back to the 12th position while we watch Brad Keselowski and Dale Jr. racing for 9th and 10th. Love that enthusiasm on the radio from Jr.
Oh, yeah, that's the kind of attitude you're looking for. Like I said, they've had a really good car in these first 3 races in the chase.
And with Harvick and Carl Edwards both running a little bit back in the pack today. Remember what happened at Dover last week? Tony Stewart had the bad finish, so the championship really closed up. Well, with the 2 guys who led the standings coming into the day running back in the pack, if it finishes this way, the standings are going to close up even more. So Johnson with a 4.1 second lead on Tony Stewart. First to second. And watch these numbers. Look at that. 2, 3, 8.
That's tight.
And as the scoring system goes, 1 point per position. That means there's 2 places on the racetrack between Jimmy and Tony right now in the championship. Coming up on a green flag pit stop window. Take a break here, come back to cover the stops. Our telecast today from Kansas, presented by Dodge. We have still got a long way to go, not quite to halfway of today's race, but the window for another round of green flag pit stops is about to be open. We check the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. Kevin Harvick's team currently in the lead, but you can help determine the standings. Vote from your AT&T phone by texting the car number to 234-567 for the pit crew you think is fastest and most valuable. And you especially need your pit crew to be fast and efficient on a green flag stop, and especially if you're going to try and chase that car down.
You better adjust on your car a little bit, too, if you're going to try to run him down. He's got about a 4-second lead over Tony Stewart. Well, Stewart's running pretty good lap times right now.
There's Johnson. And there's Smoke in second. See this gap between Jimmy and Tony kind of holding fairly steady as we approach these pit stops. And there's Jeff Gordon, not all that far behind Stewart. Very solid day so far for the 24. 10th place runner Brad Keselowski makes the first move to pit road among the leaders. Dave?
A few laps ago, Alan, he said it feels like there's 5 extra pounds of air in the right front. However, the entry is a little bit better. It's just tight at that 2/3 mark. So they're going to go for a 4-tire change, get him filled up with fuel, and it looks like just an air pressure adjustment at this point.
A little stumble around the back of the car there for the rear tire changer. That'll cost him a little bit of ground. Not much, though.
Nice recovery.
Nice recovery, yeah. Mark Martin, Dale Jr., Paul Menard, Jeff Burton, David Reagan, all hitting the pit lane here. Vince?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. still fighting a car that's a little bit tight. They're going to make a track bar adjustment. Jr. liked the car a little bit more on that last run, so Steve Letarte just trying to give him more of what he likes. So far, so good. Dave Burns?
Mark Martin still running in the top 10. They will make a 4-tire change and an air pressure adjustment. Mark saying, I need rear grip. Car was a little bit loose at the start of the run. The 18 car of Kyle Busch will hit pit road as well. Remember, he was wrecking off turn 4 to start the run with a 2-tire change. Well, it's gotten better. He says it needs to get into the corner a little bit better, but it's generally okay. He had been running in the 6th position. The crew will go around and change 4 tires full of fuel. There will be a wedge adjustment and air pressure. Jamie?
And Casey Kane in the Ford trying to overcome that bad pit stop earlier today. You see right there on the left-hand side of your screen. They worked around the left side, 4 tires for Casey Kane. Vince?
22 of Kurt Busch hasn't been happy with it. They've been fighting tight all day, going down 2 rounds on the track bar and another air pressure adjustment.
Clint Boyer's in. Kevin Harvick is in. How about Boyer, Jamie?
And they just asked him, how you doing, Clint? How do you feel? He said, I'm just a little bit loose, but overall pretty good. Remember, this team started mid-pack. They've been slowly working away, trying to win here at his home track. Vince?
The 29 of Kevin Harvick, loose, loose, loose. At one point, he called it just flat out terrible. Bigger air pressure adjustment and 4 tires for Harvick. Doc.
Carl Edwards battling a tight race car all day long. Basically, every major adjustment hasn't worked. It's a little bit better now. They're going to pull a rubber out of the left rear. Now, left rear tire going off. Watch them. They'll yank the rubber out. There it comes out. Tire going back on. Lug nuts. Get it full of Sunoco fuel. Down the way trying to fix a very tight condition for Carl.
Going to see Ryan Newman hit pit road again. Car left missing a lug nut on the left front, so Newman's got to come back in. Got to have all 5 lug nuts installed on the car. Following Newman down the pit lane will be the 2nd place car, Tony Stewart. Jamie?
And this last run, Tony Stewart having fun. He said on the radio, I am in a hurry today. I have things to do, like visit victory lane. He said he's more worried about the center right now. The entry's pretty solid. The race car, pretty darn good.
All right, see Jimmy Johnson on the lowdown now at the pit road entry as well. So Johnson will pit a lap later. There were 4 seconds, just a shade over 4 seconds between the two before this pit stop. Jamie?
And Jimmy Johnson, the boys are getting it done today, going over the wall, been flawless. He says he's tight with one up on the track bar and 4 tires for the 2nd time around. 3rd time around. And the 17, Matt Kenseth is in as well. He said he needs more front grip. Little loose off. The car hasn't been as good as it was in the earlier run of today. Doc?
Greg Biffle said, you got to free me up a little bit. Still tight in the middle. Not plowing is bad. Then they're going to go back up a half a round on the track bar. They had gone down 1 big round and made an air pressure change. 1 back on the air pressure, back up on the track bar. Left side tires. Got to fill it. Got to pack it full of Sunoco fuel. The pole sitter trying to get the car freed up on exit. Vince?
Jeff Gordon coming in. One of the issues they've had in the chase, getting the fuel tank full. It's been a cell issue, and they've hoped that they've made some ground on it, but Alan Gustafson wasn't completely optimistic that they had solved the problem. Half round down on the track bar and a 4-tire change, and tried to pack it full of fuel.
Jeff did stay out, lead that lap, collect the bonus point toward the championship, so that's a good thing for him. And waiting on Gordon to cycle back in, and it's going to mean Jimmy Johnson back to the top spot with about the same gap he had before the stops over Tony Stewart as they had going in. Now, another penalty, A.J. Allmendinger with a pass-through for speeding on pit road, and David Ruderman has been there for a couple of laps now, Jamie.
Yes, he has, and he came in for his first pit stop. You heard the car make a weird sound when he pulled away. He went out, came back. It's a broken rear axle for David Ruderman.
All right, that's the answer there.
Yeah, I saw him that first time, and he was getting ready to leave. You can see the car launch, and then it really slowed down. And a lot of times, as soon as they drop that jack, you have a concrete pit surface here in your pit box. And you have to be extremely careful not to get that totally matched up. You want to get out of there, but you give it too much, it'll snap the axle.
Yeah, those things are easy to replace, but when they're snapped in two, you got to get both pieces out of there, and sometimes that's difficult. They may have to take the cap off the other side and push it through.
Well, I'm going to revise what I said just a second ago, because Tony Stewart chopped about a second off of Jimmy Johnson's lead in that exchange.
I think Jimmy pitted maybe a lap later than Tony.
He did.
That could be just that much would make that difference.
Yeah, because I saw it on the track, the 2 car is in front of a number of cars. He was one of the first ones to hit pit road. He was in front of a lot of the cars that he was actually behind, so it really makes a difference just getting those fresh tires.
The leaders got the signal. We're halfway through today's race. Just a moment ago, Jimmy Johnson out in front in race number 4 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. We're past halfway, so that means on ESPN, we go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Dodge.
Racing back in the pack, watching Ryan Newman, who's currently in 26th at Kansas, as we are 140 laps complete. Jimmy Johnson is still out front as your leader. NASCAR Now tonight will recap all that has happened today. You can catch it at 10 o'clock Eastern time, and then tomorrow the NASCAR Now Roundtable at 2 o'clock, 2:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Next weekend we come your way from Charlotte. It's the NASCAR Nationwide Series, 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2, and Saturday night, the only Sprint Cup race in the chase under the lights. It's the Bank of America 500 at Charlotte, Saturday, 7 o'clock Eastern on ABC. Jimmy Johnson has now become the all-time lap leader here at Kansas, surpassing the guy who started on pole, Greg Biffle. But it's not just Jimmy Johnson with success here today. It's all of Hendrick Motorsports.
Yes, all of Hendrick Motorsports is doing really good right now. But boy, Jimmy Johnson, we talked about him. You asked me, can he reel off multiple wins this year? I told you, Kansas City he has won at. Look at this guy right now. He's dominating. He's coming up to his favorite racetrack next week, Charlotte. Man, is he righted this ship, Brad, and he is rocking and rolling right now.
They made the joke about Brad Keselowski. He was the dominant car yesterday in the Nationwide Series race. They made the joke about how Johnson looks like Keselowski today in the Sprint Cup Series race, but they aren't kidding. He can put that car wherever he wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a great job. And also the guy who I'm keeping an eye on is Jeff Gordon, who's in 3rd position. You know, right now he is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. I'm curious as to how much Jimmy Johnson's toying with the field right now. I'd like to see if Gordon could get caught up to him about 7 seconds off and see what Jimmy Johnson's really got, because Jeff Gordon is flat flying.
Top 6 guys right now in the field, chase drivers. If you go back to the guy in 7th, Clint Boyer, he had some big news this week, making a team change next year, going over to Michael Waltrip Racing, but this is his hometown track.
Yeah, and he wants to end this year on a really high note, and especially at this particular racetrack. He's got a lot of people here, a lot of fans, a lot of friends. He's running really well right now, 7th position. Told us he wants to run as good as he can for Richard Childress until this thing's over at the end of the year.
144 laps complete here, and Boyer battling with Keselowski for the 6th and 7th spot on the track. Alan?
Nicole, thanks as we close in on the 250-mile mark of this race. Watching Brad Keselowski and Clint Boyer race for this position in 6th and in 7th spots. And Keselowski give that safer barrier a good scare with the right rear of that car.
See just how far they are behind the leader there. They were just getting to start-finish line. You saw Jimmy Johnson off of turn 2 and down the back straightaway. So,
see Landon Castle trying to stay on the lead lap, having a pretty good day in his car today. James Finch's 51 car.
You know, Jimmy Johnson and this Kansas racetrack have had a pretty good relationship where the championship is concerned. Jimmy has never led the championship coming into Kansas, but he's left Kansas leading the championship 4 times. Now, I know this race is won later in the chase than it's been in years past, but if he continues to have the day he's having right now, that number might be 5, leading the championship, leaving Kansas.
I don't know what it is that excites him so much about this racetrack, other than the fact he knows when he usually leaves here, he's leading the championship and goes on to win a lot.
48 again with just the 1 win so far this season, knowing they need to run up front and win races and be in the top 2 or 3 week in and week out to try and keep this incredible run of titles going. And right now, Jamie, they've been up front more than anybody else this entire day so far.
They really have, and they have been working on the car, just minimal changes. Last stop, they just slight track bar adjustment up, and this is what Jimmy had to say about the car after that stop.
Car feels good from an attitude standpoint. Still
can't get it to the splitter, I believe, but it's a big help.
Right, I like that.
Good attitude and a big help. He's going in the right direction, Alan.
Yeah. It can't go any better than it's going for him today so far. Up front and dominating at Kansas to this point. Now, Carl Edwards tied with Kevin Harvick for the top spot in the championship coming in. Carl listed as second because Kevin has more wins. This day has not gone well for Edwards. He started on the front row. He almost got put a lap down in a long green flag run we had before, Doc, and now he's way back there in the pack.
Yeah, AB, his consecutive streak of top 10 finishes here, 4 in a row, may be in jeopardy. They have worked so hard on this 99 car. Bob Osborne, wedge, track bar, shim in the front. They took a rubber out of the left rear. And again, about every other lap, Carl, very frustratingly will say, guys, still tight in the middle. Now, Bob is a cheerleader. Bob Osborne, right side of your screen. Bob said, we're not going to give up, buddy. We're going to make it better. We are going to make it better. And Carl says, I know you will, bud. We just got to keep getting there little by little. It's a little bit better. They're still tight in the middle. And Carl not making much progress back in 18th spot.
When you have this many green flag laps, though, that they've run, it makes it difficult to get that car right. You don't get to get your hands on it too many times making these green flag stops.
It's really shocked me. As I said in the opening, I thought that Carl Edwards was going to kind of take charge of this championship here today. Seen him be so good here so many times. But you're right, Andy. They need a caution to get in there and make some more major adjustments. And I'm not even sure how much. I would think that they would be thrilled to death if they could get themselves close to the top 10 here today.
Carl talking earlier this week about how minimizing the bad days in the championship and winning a couple of races are going to be what you need to do. Right now he's in 17th place. Bad day by Carl Edwards standards and by what it's going to take to win this chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart still sitting about 2.8 seconds apart. That lead has been steady for this last stretch of the race. We go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Dodge. Jimmy Johnson leading race 4 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Our telecast today presented by Dodge on a beautiful day in Kansas City, Kansas. Beautiful if you're Jimmy Johnson, that's for sure. Great car underneath the 5-time champ. He's about to put Ryan Newman in that 39 car a second lap down. Remember, Newman had to make an extra trip down pit road in the last green flag stop for missing lug nut. There's Jeff Gordon running in third, the 4-time champion. As we take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Fans voted at sprint.com/speed on the driver they wanted us to go in car with, and it was Jeff Gordon. So here's the Evo Cam. We listen in. Get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more. Go to sprint.com/speed. Well, Gordon in third place, Vince, but he's 7.5 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon has used words like confused. They just can't quite get their finger on it. Alan Gustafson trying to assure him that we've got plenty of time left.
I just think the track's losing grip. You know, we're way off right now. Just having to back it off the entry up, way up to get it to turn.
Alan Gustafson was a little concerned before this race. He said, we haven't been quite as good this weekend as I thought maybe we would be, and they know how important it is, considering their standings, to have a big race today.
Yeah, Vince, a very solid day so far for this team, but not enough to be at the front. When we heard from Jeff Gordon and Alan Gustafson on NASCAR Countdown earlier, I was most intrigued by Gordon talking about how he reacts to the way Gustafson treats him on the radio. Look, we've all heard Jeff Gordon get kind of emotional on the radio about the handling of his car and how Gustafson kind of helps him hit the reset button.
Yeah, we heard some of that radio chatter. It was actually from Atlanta when Jeff's car got really, really loose. He was leading the race and looked like Jimmy was going to run him down real quick and pass him, and he was kind of panicky. Gustafson comes on the radio, says, okay, buddy, just focus, got 14 more. Real calm, and that just put, like I said, Jeff Gordon at ease. Okay, I need to refocus on what I'm doing here, and he ended up getting the job done in Atlanta. And just hearing him talk today, how he's not very happy with his car at all, but he's still sitting there in third spot. That tells me that just how good he is at this track and what he expects today.
Yeah, I think there's two things with Alan. Hearing that voice, and you're right, Andy, it does calm Jeff a little bit. But the biggest thing I think that Jeff knows is that Alan is sitting there, and he's going to fix this race car to the best of his ability and get what Jeff Gordon wants. So he knows those two things are going to happen, and it's turned into a lot of success for the two of them, and probably a lot more before we finish this year out.
So Gordon running in third position in this race, but got some ground to make up to catch the top two. You get Matt Kenseth, who's running behind Gordon in fourth position, and again a little gap there. And then there's Kenseth, the purple car, and then this race for fifth and sixth. Kyle Busch in the 18, Brad Keselowski in the 2.
I think Brad Keselowski's car is much better in this run. We heard him talk about it getting really tight the last time, but he's been right there with Kyle Busch this entire, actually made up a little bit of ground on him as this run has gone on. So it's like his car's a lot better. Having to run that high line is really working well.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, too, has made a good recovery from that first run. He slid way back in the first of the race, but has come back quite a bit now, running the top 5.
Recovered a little of the lost track position in that first run with a strategy move made on their, second pit stop, Dave, right?
Indeed, Alan, they're running fifth right now. Car needs to be a little bit tighter at the beginning of the run. Making his second ever start in the Sprint Cup Series, Warren Buffett. Guest of M&M's this weekend. He was a guest of theirs last year at Atlanta. Mr. Buffett, sitting atop the pit box for the 18 car now, was looking at all the technology up on top, all the monitors with all the data early on before the race got started. Engineer Ron Denton turned around to Mr. Buffett and he said, by the way, if you see any trends on our data, let us know, would you? Their trend right now is to try to get that 18 car better, and Mr. Buffett enjoying. By the way, he stayed for every lap of the Atlanta race. I expect him to do the same today, enjoying himself.
What's the prospectus on this 18 today?
I don't know. I'd be giving him a radio that had a microphone, though. I'd be letting him talk whatever he wanted to say. I'd be listening.
That's fun. Only 2 tracks Kyle Busch has not scored a top 10 finish in his Sprint Cup career. This is one of them.
Really Matt Kenseth there.
We go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Dodge.
And Casey Kane in the 4 car, nice charge. You saw the 56 on the left was a little slow, but Casey Kane, good stop, down and away. And you see the 56 continues to stall on pit road. Alan?
Martin Truex Jr. not able to get away from pit road. Now it looks like he's got it under fire.
Do we have an axle out here, Tony?
Yeah, that was his teammate that had an axle problem earlier. Vince?
Jeff Gordon says he needs a little bit more grip. They feel like they're pretty far off right now. You heard him talk about it. They put a half round in the left rear with 4 tires. Doc?
Okay, watch the 16 car. They're going to pull a shim out of the right front. He said here they pulled the shim out. Right front tire going back on. They will make a chassis adjustment, quarter round wedge out, left rear. The car very tight in the middle and plowing. Jamie.
Tony Stewart saying he's just a little tight through the center, but he's a little free off, and that's what they want to adjust for. They're going back the way they were on the last run. Small air pressure adjustment and 4 tires. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, the leader, Jimmy Johnson, who's been dominating today, makes his way into his pit box. They're going to try a wedge adjustment in the left rear this time around. They've been working on track bar all day. 4 tires, they'll fill it up. The car has been good, just getting a little bit tight. Wrenches in the left rear side. That pit crew's been getting it done. He's down and away. 12.6. Impressive for the 48 guys.
Gotta love that. Those guys all pumped up. And that 48 crew, the focus of so much speculation this year, has been doing a solid job in this championship.
Yes, they have. That was a good stop right there.
So here's the 56 car back on pit road.
They're going to pull the axle caps off, see which one of these axles is broken, and so they can push the try to push the broken one out. See right here, you see the right rear spinning and still spinning, the left rear not spinning.
And that's a problem.
Yep. Same exact thing happened to his teammate, David Ruderman, earlier.
Closer look at what the 56 team is up to from our Craftsman Tech Garage and champion crew chief Tim Brewer. Tim?
Hey, Alan, it's just like going fishing. When you break this axle right here, it shears it off literally like this, because this is a portion that goes into the drive plate that actually drives the car. But over here, if you break the inner portion, it's located inside, and you have to literally fish that out. Either end you break off, it's a guessing game, just like Andy said. You try to pull the axle caps off. I've even seen them use a broom handle to push them out, and you get lucky occasionally, but it's very difficult. The outside, one thing, but breaking it off in the inside, that's a lot of trouble. Guys?
All right, Tim, thanks. So trouble's there.
Yeah, either way, it's just going to ruin a decent day that he had going. Truex was having one of his better Kansas races. Struggled probably the last run or so, but he has had a lot better race here than he's had in the past. There's his teammate Ruderman coming off pit road.
And when both team cars have a similar problem, that tells you...
Well, it tells me they're trying something. They're doing something with parts and pieces, maybe. I don't know, but it does seem coincidental. Most of these teams run the same type of axles. I mean, there's just a few manufacturers that make them.
Quick mention, Regan Smith's speeding penalty on his pit stop has set him back after the pass-through follow-up. So, there is Jimmy Johnson, the leader, about to put the man who was tied for the lead in this championship, starting the day a lap down, Carl Edwards. Did not see that coming today. Carl started on the front row, and on the mile-and-a-half tracks this season, 99 car's been terrific.
Yeah, they've done a great job, and obviously in the chase, the only team and driver to finish in the top 10 all three of the races so far. They're going to lap down here right now. Any adjustments they made have not helped this car whatsoever.
Now, after the cycle of pit stops, the gap between first and second is about where it was before the pit stops. Tony Stewart lost a little ground to Jimmy Johnson in those final laps of that run. Now after the exchange of stops, that's 5.9 seconds between first and second. The big gainer on the round of pit stops under the green flag was Brad Keselowski.
He pitted 7 laps sooner than the other leaders, and that just made up all that time. Those fresh tires are worth quite a bit of speed, up to about a second, 3/4 of a second a lap, and he's able to do that for 7 laps.
Yeah, I've seen this 2 team do this, and we talked about how good they are, not only on the racetrack. Paul Wolf does a fantastic job with the strategy in these races. They pitted early each time, and it's gained them spots.
8th to 6th on the previous stop, 6th to 3rd on this stop for that 2 team. There's Kyle Busch running 4th. Just behind Keselowski. And a little bit back in line this race for 5th position. Jeff Gordon going by Matt Kenseth to pick up that number 5 spot. 86 laps to go. Plenty of racing left here at the Kansas Speedway. We go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Dodge.
all day long, and really seems to be struggling right now. Really struggling. Vince, you got a little more for us?
You know, and it is a surprise because I spoke with Gil Martin before the race, Kevin's crew chief, and Gil said, I think we're going to be pretty good today. So they were definitely optimistic. There's a good look at Gil on the right-hand side, but Kevin definitely not happy.
Terrible. Adjustments have been absolutely horrible today. All I can tell you is we better get on that little computer and figure something out fast because we're right now.
Gives you an idea. He thinks they need to engineer that one just a little bit better. Let's check in with Jerry Punch.
Bob Osborne here calling the shots for Carl Edwards. And Bob, you guys have worked so hard putting shims in the front, taking rubbers out of the rear. What else do you have left to fix that car tight in the middle?
If we get a caution here, we'll be able to do a little more work to the front end. We're just struggling real bad tight in the middle and not going our way today.
All right, they have done so many things, made every major adjustment they can make here, and Carl just says, you know what, it's still tight in the middle. I know you guys are working, but I just can't get it to turn at all. Nicole?
11 of the top 12 chasers are in the top 16, but Ryan Newman far and away the worst of the 12. Ryan Newman currently runs in 24th, and that is where he has been all day long. NASCAR nonstop. You can see what happens at the front of the field. More from Kansas.
Depending on your view. Driver leading the most laps here at Kansas has only won one. Jimmy Johnson's led the most laps.
And who was the guy that won it?
But that was Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So depending on whether you're a 48 fan or not, that's either the glass is half full or the glass is half empty, and this could change.
Well, they're going to have to make a major mistake here today, but we've seen that happen. A lot of things can happen. Still got 69 laps to go, and, you know, this rocket ship there in the 48 that's designed as a NASCAR race car here right now, anything could happen.
Look at that, all the way back. Tony Stewart, 10 seconds back. Brad Keselowski, 11 seconds back. And there's Kyle Busch, 12 seconds back. Long green flag runs, not a lot of yellow flags. The potential setting up for fuel mileage and strategy to be a factor in the finish. And Kyle Busch says, no thanks.
I hate it. I don't know how to save fuel like some of those other guys. You know, certainly you can see what they do, and you can see the things that they're trying to save fuel, and I think Carl's probably one of the best at it. Tony's pretty good at it. Brad's probably pretty good at it. You know, myself, it's like the tortoise and the hare story. You know, I am never the tortoise. I always seem to be the hare, and most of the time the tortoise wins. So unfortunately, that's bad for me.
Yeah, he read the end of the book too, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. But Kyle having a pretty solid day at a racetrack that he has not had the best of results at in the past. Dave, right there fighting with Jeff Gordon for 4th spot.
Yep, he hasn't said anything on the radio since the start of that last run, so working well for him now, although it does appear he'll get passed by Jeff Gordon here, maybe. Kyle did not run the nationwide race yesterday, and crew chief Dave Rogers told me that it gave him a chance, as Jeff slides in behind, to really sit down and talk about fine details. Gave Kyle a chance to hydrate, gave Kyle a chance to rest. I said, do you miss the data he might have picked up? Tire pressures, track conditions, by not running the nationwide race? He goes, you know, I wish I had both. But I'll take the fact that Kyle and I got to spend some more detailed time together.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that information that he's talking about that he might not get directly from Kyle, he still has access with that, with Joey Logano running yesterday, Ryan Truex in the nationwide race, so they can get that tire information.
Pretty good race here.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon trying to get back to where he was before that green flag stop that he made. Everybody could make it on one more pit stop from here. And the only thing that would set this thing up for yet another fuel mileage run would be a caution with somewhere around 55 to 60 to go. Right now, 65 laps to go. Just getting ready to get inside the window that most teams can make it on fuel.
And Gordon going to slide up there in front of Kyle Busch and grab that spot. That is 4th position. Mention this at the very top of our broadcast. Fewest cautions in a Sprint Cup Series race here at Kansas. 5. It's happened in each of the last 2 races at this racetrack. And then you see what the last green flag stretch was. We might break a record today, unless we get a rash of yellow fever toward the end of this one. Jimmy Johnson puts Kurt Busch a lap down. That's the 15th place car. A lot of green flag racing and an incredibly strong 5-time champion. Johnson 12 seconds ahead of Tony Stewart. And building, we go NASCAR nonstop. presented by Dodge. But more critically, pit stops with 60 laps to go. We were just having the conversation about fuel mileage, and everybody was good on one more stop, depending on where the yellow came out. Yep. Now they'll be shutting them off under the yellow and trying to figure out how the rest of this one's going to play out. Johnson leads off the pit road under caution for the third time at Kansas. We go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Dodge.
For the Kansas sweep, Jamie?
Well, we saw the reaction from Chad Knaus when that caution flew, Chad. You just, oh my gosh. How short are you guys going to be at this point?
Right now we're a little bit short. We'll have to conserve some fuel at some point. We're going to go and see if we can get out there and hopefully lead a little bit, and then we'll get into conservation mode if necessary. But I'm real proud of what Jimmy's done and this whole Lowe's team, and everybody at Hendrick Motorsports done a great job with this race car.
They've been dominating today, getting it done. Let's see how they can do the rest of the way. Alan?
57 to go, green flag. Tony Stewart struggling a little bit there on the restart.
Yeah, Tony really spun the tires. Frank Keselowski, the two, got into the back of him, caused him to be late getting going too. You can see all the spots that Brad's lost from that fourth starting position he had on that restart.
Clint Boyer looking, that was close to the inside of Matt Kenseth, that 33 car.
It's still close to him, working on Matt Kenseth. Yeah, Kenseth struggling right there, really loosened his car up.
That's for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Talk about Brad Keselowski on that restart. DJ, here's a look from on board his car.
You can see right here, he's ready to go. Sees the 48.
Good from out back. Good. Oh. Clear all around. Watch the outside. Outside. Watch the...
It was almost like Tony missed a shift there and didn't get going more than he spun the tires.
So Stewart settles in third. Kyle Busch gets the second. Jeff Gordon fourth, all behind Jimmy Johnson, who holds the race lead on the break. Details to tidy up. Landon Castle, Juan Pablo Montoya took waiver rounds on the yellow. They were the only two among 11 waiver rounds that got back on the lead lap. Gordon challenging Stewart here. That's for third place. Greg Biffle got busted for speeding on pit road, so he, Kevin Harvick, Paul Menard, and Austin Dillon stopped and topped off the fuel at the 1 to go. And at that caution flag, Kurt Busch in the 22 was the first car lap down. He got the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. Kurt back on the lead lap in 12th position. That might be a big moment in his championship. So Jimmy Johnson, we just heard from Chad Knaus, get out front, settle in, then try and save some fuel.
Yeah, he's running fast lap times right now, so he's not saving any fuel. But he can get a little bit of lead. He does have about a second lead over Kyle Busch. He can start backing off the gas a little bit early and not hurt his lap times hardly any. And then if he really needs to save some, he can slow up a bit.
We've heard Jimmy talk in the past about how saving fuel is a difficult thing for him and his driving style.
Yeah, we haven't ever seen it work out for them to actually do that. You see Gordon now trying to take over that second spot. But, yeah, they've run out of fuel. See Jeff going to the high side of Kyle Busch here.
Pure speculation on my part. We heard Jeff and his crew chief Alan Gustafson on a radio earlier during the caution while we were away in the break say, Jeff said, we can't make it from here, right? And Alan said, right, we can't make it. So I think Jeff's hammered down here, and some of these other guys might be not quite.
I think they're all hammered down right this second. But the one thing that you heard Alan Gustafson say, start saving me some fuel, even though I don't think we can make it. He wants to see those numbers from that last stop before he really knows whether he can make it or not. And he doesn't want him not to waste any fuel if they think they're close.
Tony Stewart's been good at making fuel last to the finish in these situations, Jamie.
He certainly has. You know, on that restart, he started second, and then he radioed to the guys and said, guys, sorry, I spun my tires. That's all that happened to him. Lost 2 positions there. Now, as far as his fuel, right now, this is what the team told him.
How much do I need to save? Just save all you can. As of right now, we're about 6 laps short. I don't think anybody's going to be able to even try to do that, but just try to save all you can here in case we get a caution.
So you heard him there, 6 laps short. Tony Stewart, one of the best at saving fuel, won the first 2 races based on fuel conservation in the chase, and they brought the same car they won with back at Chicago. Alan?
All right, Jamie, thanks. So Stewart sitting there in 4th. You see Jeff Gordon second and charging. What led me to that speculative comment I made to you a minute ago is when Jimmy Johnson screams past our camera at the end of the back straightaway, it sounds like the clutch is going in and the engine's shutting off on the car. So let's listen here as he goes into turn 3.
Absolutely. That's exactly what he's doing. It's not hurting his lap times much. He was the fastest car last lap. So he's learned how to do this a little better than what he's done in the past.
Yeah, we listened to Tony Stewart and watched Tony Stewart at Chicago be able to do that and really hold the lead and not lose a lot of time to anyone else. So these drivers are starting to perfect this. Saving fuel, not giving up a lot of time on the track. Oh, trouble off of 4.
Car in the grass, caution's out, Landon Castle. One of the guys that took the wave around.
Damage. Slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. It's all right, we got back on the lead lap.
They took the wave around, caution came out, and they get back on the lead lap.
The other guy that took the wave around and got on the lead lap on that last caution, Juan Pablo Montoya, had pitted about 2 laps ago under the yellow, so he'll no longer be on the lead lap. There's Montoya right there.
I believe that might get Carl Edwards back on the lead lap here now.
Castle was running in 16th position at the time of his spin.
Looks like he had a little help from Regan Smith. Slid up in front of him, made the pass, but slid up in front of him.
Could have been a case where he had to just check up on the throttle after he came up off the corner and got the tap.
Yeah, it didn't look like anything intentional on Regan Smith's part. He just was in the gas, and as you said, Andy, I believe that Lance Castle had to back out, keep from hitting the wall.
So, confirming from NASCAR, Carl Edwards indeed is the first car not on the lead lap under his caution, so he gets the free pass. And Edwards is going to come back around the pace car under this yellow, 17th place, but now lead lap.
Yeah, he needed something good to happen today.
Yeah. Not with us all day. Carl Edwards started on the front row, just slid back through the field, and it has been a difficult day for him. Now, this should take fuel out of the finish as a factor for everyone here, stopping with 47 to go, Jamie.
That's right, Jimmy Johnson saying he was already saving by clutching it as you guys were speculating. You see him up in the upper left-hand side. He was fuel only. The 14 of Tony Stewart taking right sides and fuel as well. Vince?
Jeff Gordon says it's the best it's been all day. Fuel only for the 24, Dave.
Kyle Busch was going to be about 5 laps short, a tear off and 2 right side tires. Doc.
So there they come to the end of pit road. A few taking right side tires. A number, though, just topping off the tank with some gasoline.
A couple guys stayed on the track right there. Like Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick stayed on the track.
So Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick getting pushed there by the 98 car. That is Austin Dillon, the grandson of Richard Childress. A little boost there for the
Yeah, you can see
29
Harvick
car.
shutting his car off, and he's getting Dillon to push him. We get a little warning from NASCAR. This is perfectly legal at this point of the race, as long as he stays caught up.
The drama builds. 46 to go. Kurt Busch, the new leader, did not pit under this caution flag. Does he have fuel to the finish? NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Dodge. Matt Kenseth in the 17, another one that got just fuel only on the pit stop. It was Johnson, Kenseth, and Gordon that just took gasoline. Most everybody else that made a pit stop there among the leaders got at least 2 tires. And for the race lead, Johnson making a run at Kurt Busch. And he better go quickly because here comes that 14 and Tony Stewart.
Yeah, he's got those 2 tires, and Jimmy doesn't have tires, and neither does Kurt Busch, so he should be able to catch him.
When Jeff Gordon's back in the pack, he was struggling more.
He's still 3 wide back there.
That's 15th and falling for Jeff Gordon. Here comes Jimmy. Laps to go to the lead.
Hey, this car's handled so good all day, I don't think they needed tires. The only thing could have hurt them if they had taken one off of it or something. We'll have to see if Tony Stewart, those right side tires, will enable him to get up there to the 48.
Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart have run first and second for a significant portion of this race. Certainly a significant portion of the latter 2/3 of this race. But Stewart had fallen well behind Johnson until the caution flag came out. The pit strategy's been played, and now Tony's got a second chance. Actually, a third chance, because we've had a couple of yellow flags.
Now, you said at the top of the show you were curious to see as Tony looks like he's going to try to make that pass here through 3 and 4 for that second spot. As to how Tony Stewart might rebound today, there's your answer.
Very well. He is for real in this championship. Watch Jeff Gordon just not get going on this restart.
Hey, that was an aggressive move by Tony Stewart.
Yeah, and Gordon's wanting to know exactly what Tony was doing right there in that situation.
Well, that's
pretty sure Tony would say, I'm going.
Going to the front, time to go.
And Jeff Gordon has fallen all the way to 17th place.
Yeah, Landon Castle is the one that brought that caution out. He actually has passed Jeff Gordon.
Well,
we got to wait a while to see that 24 car there in the frame, Vince.
You know, and what's interesting, Alan, is that when Jeff came in, he said the car was the best it had been all day. They briefly discussed tires, and they decided, no, it'll be fuel only. But immediately Jeff was lamenting on the radio after that restart, we're hurting without tires.
I think he restarted, he restarted in 5th position. And now he's back there, the last car on the lead lap. These guys that are passing Gordon right now aren't even on the lead lap.
Yeah, he's basically just in the way right now.
Kevin Harvick trying to stretch the fuel. Brad Keselowski, excuse me, racing him for 6th. Here comes Greg Biffle. Put him into that picture.
Just in front of there, Casey Kane made a nice rebound up in the 5th spot here. Had that problem on pit road early on, but it's a fast race car.
Yeah, back on lap 21 of this race, Casey Kane came down pit road in 3rd. They had a problem. They ended up staying extra time to make some adjustments on the car. Because of the problem, he went all the way back to 40th at the time. Top 5 right now for the 4 car.
I still think that Casey Kane and Kenny Francis with this Red Bull Toyota are going to win a race in this chase before this year's out. Just keep seeing this thing get stronger and stronger and be able to finish races off.
Of course, a lot of speculation about the future of this Red Bull racing team. I talked with Jay Fry, Vice President and General Manager of the race team on Friday here. What's going on, Jay? Any news? Same situation. We've got a few things working. We are confident we're going to have a new owner for this race team, and that we'll be here next season racing, was what Jay told me on Friday.
Well, they have a lot of good equipment and a lot of good people over there, and I think that's the main thing. There's a lot of good quality people over there. I'd like to see them be able to keep those jobs and be around the sport.
I saw Jeff Gordon fall a bit on the restart. Matt Kenseth was one of the guys that got just gasoline only on the pit stop, and he slipped back a little bit on the brake, not nearly to the extreme as Gordon. But Kenseth here racing for 10th position with Clint Boyer. Boyer in the 33. After that final practice on Saturday, I really thought Boyer in that 33, Jamie, would get up and contend for this win. He's not cracked the top 5 yet.
Well, so did a lot of people in the garage this morning, all watching that 33, and it just hasn't been that kind of day. Started 24th. He ran his way up into the top 10, but the last round of pit stops, he came in for right sides, and he stalled on the exit. So they brought it back in and took left sides and lost a whole lot of track position, Alan.
All right, Jamie, thanks for the update there. Kansas Clint trying to dig his way back forward. Johnson leading Tony Stewart by 1.8 seconds. Kurt Busch 3rd, Kyle Busch 4th, Casey Kane 5th. Being challenged for that spot by Greg Biffle in the 16. Started on pole today, fell back a bit, had a speeding penalty on pit road. Now digging his way back to the front.
Makes the pass, it gets clear. Making a nice charge this run. There's a race for 8th spot.
Yeah, Mark Martin hasn't been spectacular today, but he's been very solid. Has himself up inside the top 10, trying to take that 8th spot from Kevin Harvick. He'll do it.
Sometimes it takes me a second to read my own writing. That Biffle speeding penalty was at lap 208, and it dropped him from 8th to 17th at the time, and he's trying to dig his way back up from there.
It's like Harvick might lose another spot or two. Here comes Kenseth and Clint Boyer.
Kevin Harvick, championship leader, entering this race 4 in the chase. Not really a factor for much of the race. In fact, pretty emphatic on his radio about his car's handling for a lot of the race. A little strategy play by crew chief Gil Martin there.
We got some debris out here.
Caution for debris. I believe it is turn 4.
Chad is saying, is this ever going to
Oh
end?
my goodness, now I got to make another decision.
Build up another lead. Yeah, what do you do now, Andy?
Yeah.
You know some people are going to come get tires.
Going to come get rights, they're going to come get 4.
Yeah.
It's smoking right now under caution.
Oh,
we got a problem under the hood. We got.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that kind of explains it. He was really dropping like a rock.
Jeff Gordon on the radio.
Well, he could have had a tire rub. You know, he did have some contact with Tony on that restart. And I don't know if that really affected his car that bad, but definitely could have caused the smoke that he's feeling or smelling.
Well, caution out with 27 to go. Pit road is open this time by. It'll be 26 to go. What are we going to see?
Hey, Andy, you're Chad Canals. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not Chad Canals right now. I'd get 4 tires. I think that car is just so good he could drive up through there, especially on 4 tires.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'd give up the track position or not.
I'd definitely get 2 tires.
You're the champion crew chief. I'm just going to watch and see what they do. What is the 48 team going to do, Jamie?
Chad Canals just said the words, come on, let's go. He said 2 tires, we've got to get rubber here. They didn't take it last time. It'll be right sides only for the 48. See if they can drive their way back to the front, Vince.
Kurt Busch, bottom left. He stayed out for track position last time. This time it's right sides only. Dave Burns.
It'll be right sides only for Kyle Busch. They'll make a wedge adjustment for him. Help at the end of the race here. Doc.
Greg Biffle has gone from 17th to 5th into the speeding pit. It'll be right sides only. Top it off with fuel. No adjustments. Down off the jack and the race off of pit road. Very close. Looks like Jimmy Johnson might have gotten them.
Indeed, Doc. He's going to hold off that 22 car to the end of pit road, but he's going to be behind 2 cars who did not pit.
In fact, Tony Stewart got 4 tires. Wow, that was tight.
So a little more strategy played under this yellow flag, and we've got a frantic finish coming up from Kansas. This is NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Dodge.
Made the call with Brad Keselowski. How good will the 2-car be on not fresh tires, Paul?
Well, it's tough. You know, you'd hope more guys stayed out and gave us a little cushion there. But our car's not bad, and, you know, if you get in this clean air, you never know what happens. So we'll see what happens here.
Back to green, Alan.
3 wide. Jimmy Johnson right to the bottom and going after the top spot.
Keselowski able to hold him off of turn 2 so far. Not sure how long that'll last. Brad drove it in really hard right there.
I think Brad getting a little help from his teammate, racing Jimmy a little hard. It's just a matter of time, though.
Look at this, both of them down on the apron. Johnson squeezing back up on the racetrack as Keselowski tries to do anything he can to keep that 48 behind him. Johnson to the lead. Quick notes, Marcos Ambrose, free pass on that caution. Back on the lead lap, 18th spot. Tony Stewart took 4 tires on the stop. Went from 2nd at the yellow to 12th. because of the guys that got just right sides and the guys that didn't pit.
Casey Kane in that 4 car, he got 4 tires. Like he's making it work pretty well. He's got a nice run on the high side going by Kyle Busch now.
Looks like this 2-tire strategy works real good for 5 to 10 laps, maybe even 15 laps. I'm not sure that there's enough time for these 4-tire cars to move up to the front, at least to get by Jimmy Johnson.
Guys that got the 4 on that yellow: Stewart, Kane, Boyer, Harvick, Edwards, Castle, and Jeff Gordon.
Casey Kane there just looking for somewhere to go. It opens up for him to go underneath Denny Hamlin, maybe.
Top, bottom.
Same thing with Stewart. He's trying to get by 3 wide underneath Kyle Busch.
2 at a time. Not the first time today we've seen Tony do that.
No, it isn't. He didn't get quite the restart that he was looking for. He's got a lot of ground still to make up in this 14 car. Carl Edwards up in there battling. We haven't seen him pass many cars today, but he's able to make it work right now.
Just tuned in recently, Edwards started second, fell way back, in fact got lapped during the race, but at the caution of lap 219, got the free pass, came back around on the lead lap. The man who was tied with Kevin Harvick for the championship lead starting the day has had a struggle in Kansas. Trying to make the most of it in the closing laps. Other story just joining us. Jimmy Johnson dominated all day, led 174 of 249 laps. And Kurt Busch, the man that's running third right now, miserable for much of the day. Got lapped as well. He got the free pass at lap 205, then did not pit a little bit ago at lap 220, trying to make the most of the track position.
Yeah, Casey Kane making another pass here. That gets him to 4th spot now. Talking about that 22 car, though, they'll look back on this day. If they're able to stay in this championship battle, this was a turning point back earlier when they made that decision to stay out there. Got fortunate with the caution there. Man, this could be one of those days that you look at. That was a championship move they made right there, Vince.
You know, and they have been missing the speed all weekend. Steve Addington says it's been a very rough weekend, and after winning at Dover and then having to go to Phoenix for the tire test, there was no time to celebrate the victory, and they've done no celebrating today. But Addington's done a good job working on this car. Kurt has kept his composure, and right now they're sitting in a pretty good position, all things considered.
Thanks, Vince. I agree with the statement. If they're able to stay in the hunt for this championship, this will be a huge race for them. Tony Stewart ran second for a lot of this race to Jimmy Johnson. They went for 4 tires on that last pit stop, trying to dig his way back. Here's third position. Casey Kane in the 4, still rolling.
I think Casey Kane can get to second. I don't know that he has enough time or speed to get up to Jimmy Johnson, but he's coming hard.
I'll tell you what, if the caution would happen to come out right now, though, Jimmy Johnson would be worried.
Up to Jimmy Johnson, but he's coming hard.
I'll tell you what, if the caution would happen to come out right now, though, Jimmy Johnson would be worried about that 4 car on the restart. The biggest thing going for Johnson right now is that 2.5 second lead he has. I'll tell you, that 2 car, Keselowski, hanging in second place. He started on the front row with Denny Hamlin. Denny's dropped back to 10th. And Keselowski's maintained that second spot.
Here's 8th place. Clint Boyer trying to take a spot from Kevin Harvick. Harvick not on pace much of the day. Again, used strategy to try and get some track position. Now they're just trying to hang on.
Yeah, and I'd have to say if Clint Boyer were going to be there as a teammate next year, he might not be passing Harvick and taking that point away from him, but that might not make any difference to him right now.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yep. Second place on the right side of the screen.
I'm with you, Andy. Very impressed with this 2-car being able to stay out there on those tires. Go back once again.
Casey Kane was right up beside of him last lap, but he still can't get by.
Paul Wolf, a lot of credit of being bold enough to make a lot of these calls that get them in a position to win or get another great finish.
Got to give Brad a lot of credit, too, for being able to carry the ball.
Yeah.
You know, in this situation, because that's tough. You're out there with no tires around cars that have them, trying to maintain that spot with just a few laps to go.
Now Boyer not able to finish that pass on Kevin Harvick. And Jeff Gordon, we saw sliding back through the field in that last run. And now getting reports, maybe some smoke from this 24 car, Vince?
It's just gotten worse from Jeff Gordon. It seems from the time he uttered the car's been the best it's been all day. It's gone straight downhill. He had some smoke, he thought, coming from underneath the hood, and now he says the oil gauge is pegged. Jeff Gordon running 15th.
Yeah, you can see it right there.
You can see it. It thing could have lost some of the water, overheated, and then now the oil starts running hot. We'll be lucky if this thing will just hang on to make the finish.
Yeah, if it'll make the finish, though, it'll keep him in the championship battle. He's going to lose some points here today, but still within striking distance.
So Jeff Gordon hoping these final 10 laps go by quickly as Casey Kane tries to get that second spot from Brad Keselowski.
Well, Brad's just not going to give it up. He's going to hang in there as long as he can. Looks like those tires are taking over now, though. Jamie?
And Casey Kane's not in the chase. He has nothing to lose. He just wants to prove that he could go out with a win before leaving this team. Now, the last stop, they did take 4 tires. And this morning I talked to Kenny Francis, and he was still beating himself up about last week at Dover. He said we should have won that race. They had a bad call at the end, and that got him back. He ended up 4th, but the car has just been a rocket ship today, Dave.
As for the 2 of Brad Keselowski, you saw him go back to where he's been running most of the day, the very, very high line. Now it looks like he might do the opposite, but he ran the low line for a few laps. That's because he was told that the leader most of the day, Jimmy Johnson, had been running that low line, had been just off of the low line on one of those lower seams. So Brad gave it a try, but when he didn't like it, he went right back up to the top.
Not giving that wall much space when you're running that high line.
You won't hit it very hard if something happens, but
that doesn't take much to happen to hit it, though.
Yeah. Here's 4th place, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch. And remember, in the new for 2011 scoring system toward the championship, each pass for position is worth 1 point. 1 for Matt Kenseth, 1 less for Kurt Busch.
And as things sit right now, our top 6 are all within 10 points of each other.
And when you throw guys not in the championship, like Greg Biffle in there, that means each position you lose to someone like that is doubly costly. Check that out. That means Jimmy Johnson would be 2 positions on the racetrack separate from Kevin Harvick as we go to Charlotte next Saturday night. Plus, a bonus point for leading the lap, a bonus point for leading the most laps, which Jimmy's going to get today, and the extra point for winning the race, which Johnson could collect 7 laps away. Biffle trying Kurt Busch for 5th.
I think Greg Biffle and this team, I know they wanted to try to win this race after sitting on the pole here today, but I think they take a lot of momentum away from this, going to another good track for them next week at Charlotte.
And for where they were most of the day, still a good result out of a bad day for Kurt Busch in that 22.
And I'm going to tell you right now, Jimmy Johnson's going to be glad this race isn't about 275 laps long, because he'd have Casey Kane up there on his bumper.
Yeah, Casey's been chipping away lap after lap. I don't think he has enough time to get there. But if the caution would come out, he would have a faster car on the restart. And if you look back last week, Kenny Francis decided to put 2 tires on that car at Dover. It didn't work for him. So I think he learned from that and thought, we'll go down with 4 tires this week.
And made a run up through after taking those tires on the last pit stop.
Kevin Harvick making a run back here now. He fell back quite a bit. Saw that his teammate Clint Boyer was trying to pass him. Now he's up here trying to take a spot away from Kurt Busch. Vince, Kevin's made a comeback here.
Man, it is amazing the changes that they have made to this car, and Kevin said it was terrible. On the last pit stop, they went back to where they started the race. Air pressure, spring rubber back in, wedge, track, but they have done so much to this car, and all of a sudden, boom, there's Kevin back in the top 10. He said before the race today, control what we can control and maximize our opportunities. I think they've maximized the opportunities so far today.
Again, Vince, for a day that wasn't very good performance-wise for this 29 car, they're going to get a good result out of it. That's championship.
That's what you do in winning championships. Up to 24 may not get to that end.
Yeah, there it goes.
Oh, there it is.
Bring out the yellow too. This may be bad news.
Caution is out.
Uh-oh.
Stay down here, man. Coming outside. Get up below the white line if you can, please.
Huge moment for Jeff Gordon's championship. Maybe a huge moment for the final outcome of this race. That's not a good sound.
Nope, that's not good for this team. I had them picked as my favorite to unseat Jimmy this year. It's going to be an uphill climb from here now.
Jeff running in 15th position at the time. Remember, he was running in 3rd, 4th a lot of this race. And to the garage now. He's probably going to finish, depending on how many laps they run under the caution flag, he could finish as low as 36th or 35th.
Yeah, there it goes. Not a good feeling, is it, Dale?
That's a terrible feeling and sound.
Stay down here, man. Coming outside. Get up below the white line if you can, please.
So as Gordon goes to the garage, we'll let you know that Ryan Newman is going to get back on the lead lap because he was the first car lap down under this caution flag. So 19th place for Newman, who has struggled all day, and he'll have a chance to try and gain a couple of positions in the final run.
Just looking at the lineup here too, Carl Edwards is in 11th right now, which is pretty amazing that he's anywhere near the top 10 the way that they performed for 2/3 of this race.
Yeah, we were talking about how he had finished in the top 10 in all the chase races so far. At the time, he was running about 18th, and we said, well, it didn't look like it was going to happen today.
Yeah, got lapped around. Yeah, got lapped on the racetrack.
Edwards coming back from difficult handling day where that team spent a long time on pit road under an early stop trying to fix that 99 car. Another one may make a decent result, out of a difficult day. Jeff Gordon had a good day going and instead is going to have a difficult result. Not fun.
With Jeff Gordon, Jeff has just climbed out of the race car, and I know a disappointing day for you today, Jeff. When did you start getting a sense that maybe there was some problems underneath the hood?
Sequence of crazy events for us. Day was going really well. Really proud of this team, and you know, got to thank DuPont and Drive Didn't Hunger. Everybody was on board today. Pepsi and Quaker State. It's a heck of a a heck of a performance for Quaker State Motor Oil today, because I didn't think it would last as long as it did. I don't know what happened, but my oil temp was just pegged for 30 laps, and I knew it was just a matter of time. But to last that long is pretty amazing. That restart, Tony Stewart took me 3 wide, down the apron, and we're on old tires, and that ruined our day right there. But he did what he had to do, and it messed us up. But right after that, we started getting smoke. We thought it was a tire smoke, but it wasn't. It was under the hood, and obviously ended our day.
Frustrating finish for Jeff Gordon, Alan.
Pit stops under the caution. Tony Stewart sliding through his box, and it's going to cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, that last set of tires they put on that car just didn't come up to speed as well. Probably why they made this decision to pit.
Tony was ninth coming to the pit lane.
I know exactly what I did.
We'll show you exactly what he did.
Trying to get just a little extra there to get to the stall.
Wow.
And just not enough grip.
Here's how you utilize your pit crew. Whoa! How about that, baby?
That's Hollywood Armstrong right there. In the pit right in front of Tony Stewart.
Rule number 1 on pit road.
Pay attention.
Never turn your back to the race cars. Jamie?
And Tony told his guys, it wasn't your fault. It was me. When I hit the brake, I actually caught the throttle with the corner of my foot. So he did it at the same time and slid through his box, took 4 tires, and that really hurt him.
So a mix of some strategies here under this caution flag. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars stayed out on the racetrack. Third place runner was the first one to go in, so a mix of cars who took on the tires and who did not. Johnson, Kane, Keselowski, Kenseth, Biffle, Harvick, Kurt Busch, all the way back through the yellow car on your screen. Did not pit under this yellow. Guys that did: Stewart, Kyle Busch, Edwards, Jr., Hamlin, and Paul Menard. Ryan Newman coming in now as the free pass car, pits with the lap down cars. Did I ignore Boyer there in my little run through?
I'm not sure. I didn't hear him, but I know he did pit there.
I probably ignored him because I didn't write him down.
He was the first one off of pit road of that group that did pit.
Well, it's going to be an interesting last couple of laps, Jamie.
It certainly is. Now, in their last restart, Jimmy Johnson restarted third and powered his way to the front in no time. You guys took right sides on that last stop. What do you think? The 4 behind you has 4 tires from before. Are you guys at all concerned about him? You think you got what you need?
Yeah, we're definitely concerned about him. Casey's obviously a great race car driver and going to be a teammate of ours next year and can definitely get it done. So we'll just have to see how it works out. The Lowe Chevrolet, again's performed really well today. Minor adjustments all day long, and the pit crew's done fantastic, and Jimmy's really done a great job. So hopefully we can get out here with a good, solid finish and move on to Charlotte next week.
A lot of last-minute decisions on your part as well. Let's go over to Dave.
Kenny Francis is Casey Kane's crew chief. This appears to be the break you were looking for. Can he get it done in 2 laps?
Well, it's hard to say, hopefully that'll help us, but it's going to be a crapshoot. It's going to be whoever gets the best restart. I'm still kind of worried about them guys that pitted. As good as tires treated us there, we just have to see if they have enough time to get to us. But, hopefully it'll work out. We'll see.
He's got a few cushion cars there, guys, but never enough.
We were talking about earlier, the last stop that Jimmy Johnson made about whether he ought to get 2 or 4. This is why I would have liked to have 4 tires on that car, because you never know how these things are going to end, and you don't want to be out there, with less than what somebody else does. But he's got a good car. He's got a great car today.
Yeah, and the track position and the way the car reacted to the 2 tires earlier in the race, Johnson has dominated the day. You want to be up front.
And I think Jimmy Johnson would have chose the inside lane except for the speedy dry that was put down from Jeff Gordon's blown engine. Even though they try to blow all of that off, there's still a little bit there, and he's put Casey Kane in that position.
So, Jimmy Johnson has led 194 of 269 laps today. He took right side tires on his pit stop back at lap 241. Casey Kane took 4. Casey charged up through, got to second spot, but had a long way to go. The caution came out. Now he gets to restart next to Jimmy Johnson. Kane wanting nothing better than to get Red Bull Racing a win before he leaves this team at season's end. For Johnson, second race in a row, he's led the most laps. He didn't win last week. 2 laps, shootout, green-white checker. Johnson gets away from Kane on the restart. Tony Stewart all the way to the bottom looking for spots. No place to go there. That's Dale Jr. wiggling around.
A little contact in the back. Austin Dillon out of shape. Joe Logano with a tire rub.
Coming to the white flag. 1 more lap to go. Casey Kane.
White flag.
got 2 car lengths to make up. Then got to try and find a way around Jimmy Johnson.
He's coming hard right here. Got a big run down the back straightaway.
Remember Carl Edwards' final corner try that Johnson held off a few years ago. Coming to the checkered flag. No such run for Kasey Kahne this time. Jimmy Johnson goes to the top of the stack at Kansas, scores his 2nd win of the season. While they scramble to the checkered flag behind him. Wow.
Goodness. What a
good job, buddy. Good job. That's 199.
Carl Edwards gets a top 5 finish.
How in the world? that doesn't even seem possible.
Very, very impressive performance today.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Great stuff today, man. Very thankful.
Where do you start with that? Dominant car. All the circumstances pointed to Kasey Kahne maybe being a little stronger. Somehow on that last restart, Johnson got away.
Come on, dog.
Jamie, they did everything right today. Chad Knaus and company and their driver, Jimmy Johnson.
It was a perfect day. And just to think 1 week ago, all the doubters when they sat 10th in points, you guys get the win now. Chad, you're 2nd in points. What does this say to the rest of your competition for the rest of this chase?
Well, like I said before, I'm really happy with the way the team's clicking right now. Jimmy's doing a really good job, and the guys are doing a great job on pit road. With the support that we've got from Ron and Greg Ives, and it's really nice. Hopefully we can go and battle for this championship, and we're gonna do the best that we can week in and week out.
You told me this morning we just need to win more. It's been 6 months, Chad. Are you excited about this win?
Absolutely. Can't you tell?
Oh yeah.
I'm really excited. I really am. It's just an honor to be able to work with Jimmy and Hendrick Motorsports and everybody we got with all the support from Lowe's. It's not to sound like a commercial, but we got a pretty special thing going on right now, and it's great to be a part of.
The 48 team is definitely back, and they are 3rd in points after all was said and done there.
Got Jamie moves to within 4 points of the championship lead. The 2nd win of the season, and we said during the day, Jimmy he'd only had the 1 win, needed to win some races. Well, this is the 2nd week in a row he's led the most laps. Today he got the win. Vince?
With Kasey Kahne having a conversation with Brad Keselowski as those 2 guys finished 2nd and 3rd. And Kasey, take us to the restart and what happened there right at that last go.
Well, we had good strategy there. Kenny Francis did a nice job. We had a pretty fast Red Bull Toyota, and Jimmy just beat me on the restart. I spun the tires some. He jumped on it a little, prior to where I thought he would. So he kind of beat me. Brad gave me a good push, and I had a good run, and then he just kind of used the whole track up in 3, and I was in bad air and had no shot. But the guys did a good job. It was a good day for us, and we'll just keep working.
Best finishing non-chaser for the 2nd week in a row. Doc?
Carl Edwards gets a top 5 finish today. Carl, explain to us how, as much as you guys struggled, you managed to come home and bring this thing to the top 5.
I feel like I won. I feel like we won that race. That was an unbelievable comeback. My guys did a really good job. Bob made adjustments that we've never made during the race. I just got to thank everybody from Aflac, Ford. It was just a really important race to me. We talked about it a lot, and at the beginning of the race, I thought we'd be lucky to finish 20th. So it's a really, really, really big turnaround for us. I can't thank everybody enough. Scott's, Aflac, Kellogg's, Subway, everybody. That's a big day. That's a championship effort for us.
And you know what? He's really going to smile when he hears this. He's the championship points leader by 1 point with that comeback. Incredible. Let's go to Dave Murray.
3rd place for Brad Keselowski today. He moves up 2 spots in the championship, just 11 points out, Brad. No tire stops, short pitting today. You guys did it all, it seems like.
We did. Paul Wolf, my crew chief here, used great strategy, but we did the best we could. I think Jimmy went in the garage and stole my 22 Nationwide car from yesterday today, because there wasn't nobody going to run with him all day. His car is just way better, but kudos to them, and a great effort by my Miller Lite team to get a 3rd place out of this. If it wasn't for that power steering failure, last week, we'd probably have the points lead. So those failures, those troubles, they're going to come the 48's way, and when it does, we'll be there.
Brad got his luck back, and they're moving up in the points. Vince?
race car driver or magician. I'm not quite sure which for Kevin Harvick today. How did you get this thing up to 6th? I know you had a handful all day long.
Well, everybody on our Budweiser Chevy did a good job, and I'm ready to get out of Kansas. I'm tired of eventful days. We had an eventful one yesterday and an eventful one today, but these guys didn't give up. We put 4 tires on there the next last stop, and I knew that we were going to be close to the cutoff point there coming to that last caution. And I saw the 22 kind of hint to stay out, and so I stayed out and everybody else pitted. So we should have pitted there. That's my fault, but good job for our Budweiser guys, and get on out of here.
Yeah, 2nd in the points now, but just 1 point behind. Doc?
Matt Kenseth, 4th in the race, 5th in the point standings. Not a bad day, Matt.
No, it was a good day. We just, we qualified really well, and we're just off a little bit all day and just could never really figure out how to fix it. So thankfully, we got that caution with whatever it was, 20 to go, to come and work on our car and get a couple tires and get a little bit better there for then.
Next few tracks coming up good for these teams. 1.5-mile racetracks really good for Matt Kenseth. Alan?
Doc, thanks. So we have heard from all of the top 5 finishers, top 6 finishers in today's race, except the man celebrating a win. In our Goodyear winning moment, Jimmie Johnson tearing it up in the grass. Normally has a lot more opportunities to work on that celebration during the year.
He's going to have a few more.
But this just his 2nd of the season. Jimmie Johnson has driven into the winner's circle. We go to Napa Victory Lane to hear from today's race winner, the 5-time champion.
What a celebration, and you could tell by the reaction of every one of his pit crew members today. Mr. Hendrick getting drenched with the Gatorade. Jimmie Johnson, big hug from him. It's been 21 races since Jimmie Johnson's been to Victory Lane. And I know, Jimmie, it has been an up and down season from the aspect of people doubting. I know, you should have seen him the whole race going crazy. Jimmie, just
this sport is so tough, and if you look at all the second places we have this year, we've been close, but just haven't got the job done. So very proud to get it done today. Big win for Mr. Hendrick, 199th win for Hendrick Motorsports, and also Chevrolet clinched the Manufacturers Championship. So couldn't do it without all of them and all the great people at Lowe's that stuck behind this 48 team since day one. And we did our job today, and hopefully we can do it, I don't know, 6 or 7 more times.
We're getting another mic.
That is technical difficulty we apologize for there with our Victory Lane interview. Got it, Jamie?
And we're back here. Yes, there was so much Gatorade that it drenched out our microphone, Jimmie. Just take us back, go back into that emotional moment, looking at your guys celebrating the 2nd win of the season.
We need a camera on you guys talking about teamwork and the way this works. Yeah, Vince's mic. So.
Hey, it was teamwork like you guys today, Jimmie.
No, I appreciate it. As you can see, we've got a very strong group of guys, and we've been knocking on the door all year long, and got beat in some cases, and we beat ourselves in others. And today, we went out there and did a great job. We got the Lowe's Chevrolet to Victory Lane. So just can't thank Lowe's for all their support since day one. Congratulations to Hendrick Motorsports on 199, and also to Chevrolet on winning the Manufacturers Cup. So we did our part. We'll just see if we can do it 6 more times.
You 3rd in points right now. Are you guys back? Look out, number 6 on the way.
We're doing the right things. You just don't know. Sure, this is a huge, huge step in the right direction, but 6 races, a lot can happen. So I don't want to get overly excited. We got to go out here and race for this thing week after week.
All right, go celebrate with your boys. Job well done today. Jimmie Johnson.
Thank you to the fans.
Yes, thank you to the fans. Let's go back upstairs to Alan Bestwick.
All right, Jamie, thanks. Jimmie Johnson with a huge win today, setting him off on certainly a tremendous roll as we head into these final races of this year's championship, which next week carries us on to a track that's been pretty good for Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah, and we'd be talking about him being the points leader if it wasn't for what they pointed out. The comeback for Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick, just an amazing day for those guys to make something out of what would look like nothing, but they've kept all of this close.
Yeah, but you got to wonder just how good this team is, this 48 team. They always perform in these last 10 races. I wonder if they were saving something during the regular season or what, or whether they just brought a bunch of new stuff online, but it's really, really working, and they proved it today.
Does this show you just how much this means to people that are competitors? These guys are 5-time champions. They've won so many races, but how excited they are to get to Victory Lane here, just how difficult this business is.
And as the celebration continues here, a lot of the other teams begin turning their attention to next week and what they have to do to stop that 48 team and get to the top of the standings at Charlotte Motor Speedway. That race next Saturday night on ABC. Talladega announcing the other day here that if there are 100 lead changes in that race at Talladega, they'll pay $100,000 to the driver who takes the lead the most times.
Boy, that ought to make it fun.
88 lead changes each of the last 2 races at Talladega. We'll see. Final thought on what you saw today here in Kansas.
Just dominating performance by this 48 team, but some nice comebacks to keep this points championship close. We're going to have a fun 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we're not going to see Casey Kane win a race before the end of the year, or one of these non-chasers get in victory lane pretty soon.
And my final thought is that Jimmie Johnson, with his 55th career win, is now tied for 8th all-time in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series history with Rusty Wallace, who's down in the studio with Brad and Nicole.
Well, it was also Jimmie Johnson's 20th career win in the chase. NASCAR now will wrap up that victory tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern, and then a wrap-up of the entire racing weekend tomorrow on NASCAR Now, 2:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Of course, next weekend it's the Nationwide Series at Charlotte, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. And Saturday, Under the Lights, the Bank of America 500, 7 o'clock on ABC. Rusty Wallace, final thoughts.
I'm just blown away. I'm so impressed what Jimmie Johnson's done in such a dominant performance. 197 laps this guy did. He kicked everybody's butt out there all day long. But what about Casey Kane? Second place finish out of a non-chaser. Great run out of Casey also.
2 weeks in a row.
Absolutely strong. But I am absolutely impressed with Harvick and Edwards. Both of those guys were junk throughout the day, ended up finishing 5th and 6th. Championship runs for those guys. This chase is awesome.
You said earlier in the day you have to manage your peaks and valleys in this chase. It wasn't an easy day for Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick, but they managed and made the most of it. Congratulations once again, celebrating in victory lane for the 20th time in the chase. It is Jimmie Johnson with his family. Sports Center coming up next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Jimmie Johnson, your victory in Kansas.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.